One final chance comes through the window for playoff hopefuls. A beacon of possible title aspirations all here at the track, either continuing tonight into the night sky or whether it would get the power cut off after the checkered flag. Good evening and welcome to the bright lights of the virtual Daytona International Speedway and Daytona Beach, Florida for round 17 of the inaugural 4-wide racing ARCA Series season and the final race of the regular season before the playoffs begin. Happy to have you on the coverage live on the KBueno Racing Network, where alongside Francisco Bacchiao up atop the World Center of Racing, my name is Kenneth Bueno. We're going to have a fantastic one here, Francisco, mostly because points are tight, racing is tight, and at Daytona, anything can happen, especially when you give circumstances that a driver can walk out of here tonight, a playoff lock-in, if they can get the checkered flag. We're going to be deciding the top 10 that'll make it for a title this season.
Very happy to be up atop of the booth of the famed Daytona National Speedway, Kenneth. You know, when you come to Daytona, there's a lot of meaning that around this racetrack. You have the Daytona 500. You have the 4th of July race, which is now the regular season finale, as it is here with us. You have the Rolex 24. It doesn't matter what you run here, if it's the road course, the oval, any win at Daytona, even Supercross or any the backstretch short track. Any win here at Daytona means so much to everybody that races, and tonight is no exception to that, especially with what we got on the line. We got some guys that are trying to win their way into the playoffs. That is their only hope at making the playoffs. So everybody that is currently top 10 in points, as we'll show you in a second, everybody in the top 10 is good as long as there's no new winner inside your top 20 in the standings. We'll go over these details as the night goes on because we want to be able to update you and also try and give a clear picture as to how your playoff drivers are going to be faring and who will be that final top 10 to go racing for a championship. And I'm really excited, Kenneth. We went to the old Daytona for the first time around under the sunlight. Now we're at the new, rather recently paved racetrack under the lights. And you know that when the lights are on, emotions run high and the sparks fly.
Indeed they do. It's a different daytime setting. We went under the sun. Now we're under the lights here with a brand new challenge. Same track, but everything different on the dynamic, especially when you give playoff circumstances in tow as well. Let's take a moment to look overhead, though, at our KBueno track map, where we'll get our images from Google Earth and the information of this famed Daytona International Speedway. If you're an oval racing fan, you need no introduction. You already know what this track has. You already know what this track is all about. It's a 2.5-mile tri-oval super speedway, 4.02 kilometers if you're on the other side, 31 degrees of banking in each and every turn, with 18 degrees of banking in the tri-oval and only 2 degrees of banking on the back straightaway. It looks simple, Francisco. Since its opening in 1959, it has looked that way, but this track has brought so many complications, whether it be for race wins, meaningful race wins in the Daytona 500, and even now in recent years where NASCAR has decided to put this race as the regular season finale to amp up all the drivers that are trying to get in, all the drivers that are trying to defend from being pushed out, so far and so forth, and drivers, of course, looking for their very first win in this series. This track holds so much to be worthy and so much in terms of going to victory lane and putting yourself amongst the history books, or at least here, the virtual history books from Daytona. Well, drivers are currently lined up on the grid, so we will take a moment to head trackside and see exactly where every driver and your favorite driver will be starting here tonight for the regular season finale of the 4-wide racing ARCA Series season. Benjamin A. White returns to the super speedway with the fastest time in qualifying, a 45.590. He will lead us to green alongside former Daytona winner this season on the bumps in the old surface. He's going to be trying to look for competitive success on the new surface here with a 49.620. He will be on the outside of your first row.
AJ Green, who's been fast the last couple of weeks, is in that third starting position alongside league owner Tyler Murray, who's still searching for that first win of the season.
Tyler Murray going to have a lot to look forward to here. Nicholas Vizzuti, Jacob Denson will follow out the drivers in row 3. These two looking for an entrance into the 4-wide racing ARCA playoffs. Vizzuti near that top 20. Denson within the top 20. So both of them get a win. They are in. It's a good place to start.
Kyle Benson been hot the last couple of weeks, looking to try and continue that momentum and get a win on the high banks. Eric Schaefer so close the last 2-3 weeks. He's trying to get that first win. We know he's capable of it, and he's in that playoff battle. We'll have to see if he can get it done.
Behind them, back to row 5 and your top 10, it's Kevin D'Elia in the 53 and Curtis Kelly, a winner at Myrtle Beach earlier this season. Gonna look for a big track win as he starts just inside the top 10.
Lawson Peel looking to try and see if he can find success in the ARCA series. He won a cup race not too long ago, trying to see if he can get number 1 here. And Brandon T. Banks, been very consistent. Can he keep that up?
See if he does. Mark E. Harris, a first-time driver in the series, will make his season debut in the 5 car here from 13th. It'll be Brian Dixon in the 03 to his outside in row 7.
And then the rest of the field consists of those who elected not to take a lap. And Kenneth, we saw this in the first Daytona race. We saw several people not only choose not qualify, but also pit lane start. And as you know, pit lane start can be very useful here because you might fear a first lap wreck. You might assume that there's just a big incident waiting to happen on that opening lap of the race, and you obviously do not want to get caught up in it. So you pit lane start, avoid the wreck. Of course, you won't be anywhere near the field, but you rather do that than the alternative and get possibly caught up in something. Now, before we go green, Kenneth, you obviously saw there some cars waiting to go by, dropping to the back of the field, and that is after penalties that occurred at the end of last week, and several cars were given EOL penalties, namely Jesse Prees and AJ Green. They're both going to be at the end of line for their incident over at Rockingham. Tyler Murray's also going to be getting an EOL. Kyle Benson also an EOL and a point dock, but given his wins, that will not exactly hurt his playoff chances. So interesting developments before the green flag was ever waved here, Kenneth, but as we're pacing through 3 and 4, it's time to put that to rest, and we're about to start racing.
We're about to go green here as they come for the 31 degrees of banking. Let's take a look at the point standings just before we go green. 4 drivers locked in. All the drivers below Eric Schaefer, Kelly, Kivett, Lownslugger, Banks, and Newbraw are the final drivers in the top 10. They will be secured for the most part unless somebody comes and grabs a race win into the top 20. We'll keep an eye on that. We'll let you know just how everything progresses throughout tonight's race. Lance Hill, who's got a race win this season, he still needs to step into the top 20, so we'll keep an eye on that as well. Meanwhile, pace car makes its way down to pit road. It's Benjamin way. Actually, no, we're going to go another way, so I believe we're going to wait another lap longer. I was expecting the green flag to come out. Now the lights are out on the iRacing official pace car, so I guess that we're building drama here. But Francisco, let's take it back to the point standings since we kind of have some more time to get over it. 4 drivers locked in. All the drivers below should be good on points. Should be. That is, though, if a driver in the top 20 gets to victory lane here tonight. It's a full 67-point spread between Michael Newbraw and the driver behind him, Jacob Denson. So there's not going to be pointing your way in, but there is going to be winning your way in. And as long as you're in the top 20, as long as those drivers below the cut line are able to get to victory lane, they're going to smash their way right into the playoff fight, and somebody's going to get knocked out.
Yeah, and there's a slim chance that we actually get 2 knocked out because Lance Hill, as a driver, as you know, has won a race this season, but he is outside that top 20. So if he's able to get a good enough point situation where he can move above the top 20 and someone else down there wins, that's 2 people that could make their way in. So you want to avoid being 9th and 10th in the point standings at all costs. Obviously, 9th maybe is a little bit of a long shot at missing it, but definitely do not want to be the last driver in just in case. So it's going to be very interesting. We know that anything can happen at Daytona. We've seen it all happen in real life. We've seen it here on iRacing countless times that we've covered races here at Daytona. I'm glad to be up in the booth. That's probably the safest place to be here all night, but these guys are going to lay it all on the line. And on that front row, that Nebula paint scheme, Benjamin A. White, a guy you and I know, he raced back at Michigan, didn't exactly have the best debut he was looking forward to, but you know he loves these plate tracks, and this is something he was looking forward to.
And he's going to be looking forward to the green flag in a couple of moments. Pace car makes its way down. This time we'll go green. Benjamin White, Ken MacArthur, green flag for the final race in the 4-wide racing ARCA Series regular season. Good jump out of the race leaders. They'll sail to turn 1, and it's 2 by 2, multiple rows deep.
And you see already 3 wide, a little bit further back, and this is going to be interesting, Kenneth. We know that at the restrictor plate tracks, especially with this smooth surface at Daytona, it's very easy to get up close to somebody else. The problem, these ARCA cars are not susceptible to getting or are very susceptible to getting turned around when they are pushed. So these guys will try to stay off the bumpers because that will just cause a massive wreck. But you see right there on the outside, Brian M. Smith trying to make a move 3 wide on the outside, doesn't have any help, which is where the draft still comes into a factor. Even though you don't get a physical push, that aero push still matters. Those 2 cars on the outside, it looks to be Denson and the 97 of Ken MacArthur. MacArthur trying to see if he can lead that lap. Indeed, he does not, actually, by just a handful of thousands. Benjamin A. White able to lead your first lap of the race on that inside lane. But right now, Kenneth, you're seeing 2 lines already trying to form up, and we're seeing a lot of patience, relatively speaking. You do not want to push it this aggressively that early.
And especially over a 100-lap race, you definitely want to keep things safe for the rest of the event. And also to mention, we have a faster pair given to all the drivers here tonight, so that will also be a strategy point in play as Ken MacArthur sweeps in front of Benjamin A. White. He will take the race lead here on the second lap, but you don't want to waste a faster pair too early getting caught up in a wreck. So I think everybody just wants to stay calm, hop on as much rhythm as they can here in the opening laps, and then just continue on their way through. Maybe put up the pressure in the later stages, but for now, it's all about keeping themselves clean. We mentioned Brian M. Smith. Francisco did up with the high line. That third line was able to die out, so he's going to try and join the guys in this second group here, followed with the 5 machine, the number 2 of Tristan Bailey here. That's the 45 of Jacob Denton. It's the 5 of Harris there in that CarQuest Chevrolet machine, so he's going to now look to the inside. And for now, Ken MacArthur back to the front, and he likes this site, Francisco. He's been in this place before, winner at this track in the bumpy surface a couple of weeks ago earlier in the season. That's what got him into the 4-Wide Racing ARCA Series playoffs. He's sitting 3rd in the playoff standings right now, and I guess he can kind of play it more dangerously, Francisco, than a lot of these other guys can, because he's been to victory lane. He knows he's going to be fighting for a title, so why not try and sweep the track that he's won at before?
Why not? The best thing to do when you come to Daytona is when you know that you have nothing to lose. There's absolutely nothing to lose for Ken MacArthur. All that's on the line for him is winning this race, and he obviously wants to go out there and be able to do that. You see, he moves off the bottom just a little bit, has to check up the car behind him. That is Benjamin White, who has to lift just a little bit, and you see the outside gain a bit of momentum. Smith trying to make that third line work. Unfortunately, nobody's really working with him. You see Denson into the wall, big crash in turn 3. Numerous guys involved. And I mentioned that on the opening lap too, Kenneth. You do not want to push with these ARCA cars. They're very susceptible to easily getting turned when they get a push, and that's exactly what we saw. And you see right there, almost avoidance there by Kelly, and unfortunately gets hit there around the apron banking merger on the yellow line, and sends multiple cars around. And a lot of the trouble is really trying to avoid it, because you see not too many cars initially involved, but the track does get blocked, and you see right there several cars going all sorts of places to try and get around it, and several lose control in the process. And in doing so, that's what gets more people involved. We saw Tyler Murray involved as well. We saw a couple of guys there. I'm not sure if we saw anybody. I think Forster is somebody who we did see in that incident, Kenneth, that is in that top 20 battle. That's not going to be good for him. I'm not sure he picked up any damage. That's the fortunate part, so he can keep that fast repair. Yeah, and like I said, when the yellow came out and at the start of the race, these bumpers don't line up well. They never have. So pushing with these cars is very dangerous, if you will. Any light tap will easily spin that car in front of you, almost before you realize it. It's already gone, and it's not exactly a viable option. You try, you really want to make it work, because if you were to just able to push like you could with trucks, Xfinity, or Cup cars, you can really gain an advantage. You just can't. The front of your car just sinks underneath the one in front of you, and that's what sends them around, because they have no contact with the rear portion of the car. They're getting dictated by the nose of your race car, and you see right there, Kvyat slowing down on the pit lane exit. But Ricky Rosner, also somebody else who's in that top 10 or top 20 battle. If he's able to win tonight, he has to try and finish in that top 20 in the standings. So he's got to hope for a good night if he wants to keep his playoff hopes alive. Once again, the guys who are in top 10 in points right now are safe, assuming nobody in that 11th to 20th range end up with a win. And I'm not sure exactly where Lance Hill is running at the moment, Kenneth, if you can find him exactly where he is on the racetrack. But he needs to also have a good run. He already has the win. He has the difficult part out of the way. He just has to finish good enough in the points to be able to get into that top 20 area.
Actually, I think there's the rough news for Lance Hill. He's 31st, one lap down, and I don't see him at all on the racetrack. So his race could very well be over just before it began. Brian M. Smith has also pulled it behind the garage to our knowledge. So Brian M. Smith is done for. He was a driver that picked up 2 wins this season, but was not in the fight for top 20 in points. So no matter what, he was most likely not going to be able to get there all the way to the top 20 in order to compete for a title. The good news for him is that he's going to be able to run for a title in the Cup Series tomorrow night. So regardless of where he finishes on Wednesday tomorrow here from Daytona, he's going to be a part of that championship fight in the top 10. We go to Darlington in a couple weeks' time. But as for the ARCA Series title hopes, that's all burned and extinguished as he's pulled it behind the wall and his race is over. We'll keep tabs on whether Lance Hill comes back into the fight. Now, he's one that is locked in, needs to get into the top 20, and it's looking dire for him in the opening 7 laps. Pace car comes down, ready for a restart here on lap 8 of 100. It's Ken MacArthur quick to the gun. Benjamin White fails to get any help from the outside. Denson already swoops down low, but it's a lot more separation as they come back to turn 1, Francisco.
A lot more separation throughout the field, as that was the first time the leader had control versus the green lights that indicate a go. And you see it's kind of strung out, but Benjamin's making a good second comeback right here, able to use that outside lane momentum off the corner. He's got some help now with the 45 of Denson. As you see several cars below the apron further back, they're trying to settle that out and kind of work into a deal. But all that's done is created a bit of a separation amongst your top couple of drivers. Is there a little bit of contact there with Ken MacArthur and Michael Lilly?
And they almost get into contact. That outside line has diminished very quickly. Only about 2, now 3 cars. If you add in Jesse Prees, now 4, because here comes Jacob Denson to fight up top. He was within himself. Grasp of the leader, Benjamin A. White. Swoop to the inside in front of that 97. And now the 45 getting that push from the 69 out in front and in control. He's immediately going to almost duck in. Going to stick with Wooly for now. I think what he wants to do is clear the top 2 around on that outside lane. Just can't quite get to it as it's going to get tight here between that top lane. They're going to check up massively as that 45 does not decide where to go. And Benjamin A. White still holding out the hope on the bottom side, trying to take the lead away.
They're still side by side, Kenneth, but one thing I do want to mention is that normally in real life, maybe not so much with the ARCA cars, but with the Xfinity and the Cup Series machines, you usually see them when they end up going single file in the long runs, they usually go next to the wall, and we don't really see that on iRacing, and it's unfortunate in a sense that you would at least want to do that. It looks fun running next to the wall. You get a sense of realism when you're able to do that. But one thing I do know is that on the latest NASCAR video game, NASCAR 21 Ignition, it is actually faster to run up there. So I'm interested in the future, in any upcoming season builds or anything of that sort. If iRacing were to do something to maybe make that outside lane a little bit better when you are single file, because that would definitely play into what we normally see.
Definitely is, and we've seen multiple drivers, I think, especially in AFIX, in the Cup Series, official series on iRacing. I've seen multiple times, especially after the draft model was updated on the service, that drivers would go up to that outside lane, do what's called, I guess these drivers call it the Dale line here from Daytona, swing all the way up to the outside wall, and just stay there. Just kind of ride around for many of the laps, just hold on to where they are, not do anything crazy, and then by the end of the race, try and push. But for most of the race, they're tucked up on that safer barrier, just riding around in a long line of cars. They call it the choo-choo train, the NASCAR fan base does. Not necessarily the most popular portion of racing on Super Speedway side, but it is realistic to what the drivers do. And for now, though, in the ARCA cars, we're just seeing 2x2 all over the place. There's a look at Jacob Denson, who's finally got the shove from Woolley to head out by at least a couple of car lengths and possibly able to duck down here with Woolley. They're not going to decide to do so. They're going to stay up here, but watch a driver here, third on that outside lane. Familiar colors, Francisco. Nicholas Fazuzzi. He's a driver that's fighting for cusp in the playoff berth for the series. He's just beneath the top 20 with Jesse Prees just in front of him on that cut line, but he is one of the drivers, Francisco, that needs to go to victory lane and needs to beat Jesse Prees in the point standings in order to call himself a playoff eligible driver. He just needs to continue himself right where he stands. He currently rides in fifth.
And he's doing himself some good justice, at least at this point in the race, because he is up front, so it does give him a chance at ending up in that top spot. As you see, this outside lane has actually done really good, and as soon as I say that, Michael Woolley ducks down to the bottom to try and take the lead on his own, and Bizzuti trying to battle for his playoff life, essentially, and at least he's front. He just has to get up there, and you see as soon as Woolley ducked down there, that took away the momentum from the outside as they have to now reattempt to do it. But Benjamin A. White's going to actually get up there, get in front of that line, and see if he can take the lead right back. So these guys are using the outside. The outside does seem to be faster. It still kind of puzzles me. If it is that much faster to run up there, why don't they stay up there? We were just talking about this. And the reason why it is faster, for maybe those who don't understand why, if they're going full throttle, why is the lane that goes around the longest part of the racetrack quicker? Well, it's as simple as this. When you're wrapping around that bot and you have to turn the wheel a lot, you have to lift every once in a while, especially when you close in on the car in front. When you're on this outside lane, you can kind of get strung out, move around a little bit, and you don't have to lift as much. That carries a lot more momentum, especially when you go down the banking like that. You see they're able to just start downwards almost, and they gain almost a mile an hour, almost two, instantly just by going down the banking. And not to mention on this trial too, they get a little bit more right here for the second shoot. So that's why the outside lane does run quicker naturally, but I'm still surprised if it's proven to be that much quicker, why don't they just stay up there?
They probably would, but also the bottom side is the shortest way around the track, so you're kind of sacrificing, okay, do I try and check up here on the bottom with a lot of guys in this line, or do I want to stay up and maybe keep myself comfortable? And there's a big challenge between drivers and motives in terms of what they want to do in order to gain position and to also help. As Benjamin A. White swits up top, he's going to be the race leader for now, but it's still going to be up in the air as Michael Woolley comes back to the inside. And we've got a couple of rows deep full of cars. Too wide. There's the 54 trying to split at 3. He's going to find the help here from Jesse Prees, Kyle Benson behind him in a Kevin LePage race car. Well, we'll talk about that a little bit later. But they continue to run, for the most part, double file as Benjamin A. White's now going to take the race lead over the first 15. But at least for the moment, I think in some ways, Francisco, the huge checkup is also exacerbated because you mentioned it at the start of the show, and especially on that first yellow, where with these cars, you cannot really give a bump drive. You can give sort of an arrow push, you can get close and give a push. It still is possible in the realm of super speedway racing with these cars, but what you can't do is get too close with your front bumper and hook a line with the rear bumper of a car in front of you, because you can easily hook them around and that car in front of you just has no control over what they can do. But with a lot of other cars, Cup Series cars, Xfinity Series cars, even the trucks, you can give a push. When you break through that bubble, you can give that shove, and as long as you don't necessarily be at the wrong angle, you can give them a shove. You can push them all the way to the front, and you can be bumper to bumper pretty much locked in and ready to go. So it's sort of exacerbated in this case, Francisco, because not only do you have that big checkup down low, but you can't push the driver in front of you or else you're going to cause a wreck.
Yeah, and these guys have to stay disciplined because you cannot touch it at all. Any sort of touching is what involves the wrecks occurring. So you have to stay disciplined the entirety of the evening, not get to the front, the rear bumper of that car in front of you, and be really patient. And doing so is going to reward you. You don't want to be aggressive until the last portion of the race, considering that. And even then, at the end of the race, no matter what, you can't touch them because that'll still cause a massive crash and could easily involve you in it. As we see, they're going 3 wide in the middle now.
That's 3 wide. Jacob Denson, some help from the 54 machine just behind him. That's the driver of that Duke machine, Josh Klinger, the Black Horse Chevrolet with the big Blue Devil colors on there. Jesse Prees also going to follow through to the middle, so that is going to somewhat kill that high line. And Jesse Prees back to the 12 of Lawson Peel, the 75 of Vizzuti are just going to kind of hold out, maybe wait for a moment. Now here comes Denson, switcheroo back to the inside, and Denson back to the race lead. Remember, Denson is far out from the top 10 in points. What he needs, though, is a race win. First 17 laps, he's in control of the race.
He's able to get up there at the moment, and Denson isn't in the top 20 cutoff in the sense that he's not exactly worried about being outside of it, so he doesn't have to worry about 2 things at once. As you see, right up to the rear bumper of his is Michael Woolley, as you really want to get. And of course, one person that these guys probably didn't take into account being in this race is Benjamin A. White. We talked about him being the pole sitter. But we know Benjamin personally as he's making that block on his own outside lane, but he likes these plate tracks. He's been very fast, very consistent when it comes to racing the ARCA cars, not to mention the ARCA cars at plate tracks. So this is definitely right in his wheelhouse, and he is here for nothing but a win.
He is here for nothing but a win, and you know what that means? Danger for drivers like Jacob Denson and drivers like the ones beneath the top 20 in point standings, Nicholas Vizzuti and a handful of others. They don't want to see a spoiler here in Benjamin A. White because Benjamin has only showed up to another super speedway race prior at Talladega. He's not in any case whatsoever to run for the championship. He's just here for a checkered flag and for a good time. That's all he's here for now. Maybe next season he's going to be back in for a championship hunt, but for now he's only here for the win and for the glory here at Daytona and these super speedway tracks. So what Denson and these other guys don't want to see is a driver like Benjamin A. White controlling the pace of the race and being able to kind of man the field and stay up front. Denson wants to win, drivers behind him want to win, and they want to avoid a non-playoff driver from spoiling the whole event and making sure that those drivers stay out of that playoff fight. Look at Curtis Kelly, though. Francisco straight through the middle, blocked from Benjamin A. White to hold the help, but that 71 Shrek machine, after being involved in the first caution here tonight, he is already on the move.
He is on the move and trying to be aggressive. He wants to get up there to the front, and you see just how close he's getting to that rear bumper of the 39, but not hitting it. That's exactly what you want to do, and yeah, we've seen a couple times now, Vizzuzi's trying to make that third line work or has been shuffled out there a couple of times. And, you know, we talk about the points. We talk about how much they fluctuate and all sorts of that, Kenneth. We know it's going to be changing as most of the night goes through, and we'll try our best to keep up with it. You know, it's very difficult to judge exactly how much it changes, considering that the positions change multiple times in a lap. So to try and get an accurate reading as to what it's looking like right now, it's very difficult. But if you were to get somewhat of a gauge or anything of the sorts as to how it's looking like right now, Vizzuti is just a handful of points, about 6, I would say, above Ricky Rosner. And Ricky Rosner's 2 laps down the racetrack. He doesn't have any positions to gain for anybody on his lap. So Rosner's limited at the moment, so that's advantage to Vizzuti, and he's already up in the front. So that means he's most likely not only going to have to run up here to even have a shot at the top 20, but a win might not be enough if it runs how it is.
It probably isn't. He just needs everything to spread the right way that he wants it to, and for now, Vizzuti is hitting the reverse gear. He was trying to get some help here with Josh Klinger in that Duke machine, but they kind of fell out. They faded through that top lane. They're going to try and join the second one here, just behind that 12 machine of Lawson Peel, and then just give the help here to where Curtis Kelly and Benjamin A. White sit on the racetrack over the first 22 laps. So they remain side by side. No convincing leader. Last time by, it was Jacob Denson to lead us to the start-finish line. And Benjamin A. White still just trying to peek through the nose here to lead some laps on his own right. And one thing to also note here for super speedway racing is positioning. You got to put yourself in the right spot to be in a position to win. Of course, crashes could shake things up, could make the running a lot harder for you if you get involved. But in the final laps of the race, you want to be in a place where you can either switch to the bottom, switch back to the top, get some help with you at the right time, and be able to surge ahead, maybe to the tri-oval to get that race win in that final lap. We've seen it multiple times where the last moves have been made out of turn 4, or last moves have been made out of turn 2. There are many places where a driver can put themselves in order to get themselves out victorious. The only problem is he just needs everybody to work with him, and that's a tough thing to do when you don't have friends at a track like this.
Yeah, anytime you show up to a plate track without any teammates, it's very difficult. You're basically trying to find someone who's not only willing to work with you, but you have to trust them to an extent, and you're not sure if you can. They're not your teammate. They don't have to stay working with you. They have, especially if you're not necessarily friends with them. That's just a mutual understanding of the situation, trying to work with each other. But as soon as they get the chance to leave you out to hang or do anything else, they'll do that in a heartbeat because they don't have any sort of commitment to you as any teammate probably would, where there's a lot of commitment there. There's sponsorships at certain times, but not only that, but just that feeling you get of helping out your teammate. It really helps. And, you know, we talked about Benjamin A. White. He's here on his own. He probably doesn't even know half the drivers here, but he's out here trying to make sure he wins. And one way to do that is gaining respect. And how do you do that? Showing you have a fast race car, racing clean. And that's exactly what Benjamin's done here, because he's probably one of the few guys who's not left the top 5 all night.
If any hasn't, the driver who started from pole has yet to relinquish any positions really within the first handful before you get to about the top 5 on back. And one thing that Benjamin does have in his back pocket that maybe a lot of these other drivers don't have is a lot of experience with this car. We've talked to him multiple times throughout. I mean, we know him personally. He's been a part of a team a bunch of months back, and we still know him to this day. He definitely runs this car a lot more than I think anyone I know on the iRacing platform. Every week on officials, whatever track it is, whether it's a 2-mile track, a super speedway, a 1.5-mile track, a short track, best believe you're going to see this driver right here, Benjamin A. White, on the track, ready to go and racing for the checkered flag. And also to couple with that, he's also got experience in Moon Car. As Curtis Kelly gets hit to the outside wall, I believe he's going to be okay. No caution will fly. So Kelly is going to stay okay to the outside wall. He's going to have severe damage and most of all lost track position. He's going to try to find some space to recoup back. There's Charlie Harcum. Now he's going to find somewhere to get back. But as I was mentioning here with White, he's got experience in Moon Car, which utilizes these ARCA Menard Series Chevrolet Impalas. So if there's anybody that's got the most roundabouts with this car, it's going to be the driver, the 39, as it's getting real dicey around that lap car, the 81.
It's actually 2 lap cars, because you see Rosner also there getting 3 laps down. And we're going to go 3 wide for the lead. Going into turn 3, Wooly being very aggressive to the bottom of the racetrack, and he'll take it away from both of them. Yellow. Wow. AJ Green. And see Rosner involved too. He's several laps down now and involved in an incident once again. So this is not going the way of the guys who need to get up inside the top 20, at least those who are outside the cutoff looking in to even stand a chance. And you see right there just a lot of contact trying to get by those lap cars that were holding on the bottom. And unfortunately, Daytona, a little bit more narrow than Talladega. We did actually. We did go to Talladega earlier in the season, and Talladega is at least 1 lane wider than Daytona is. So you come to Daytona, you know it's a plate track and all, but you come here and you actually forget just how narrow it is. And look at that close call by Bizzuti. And after that crash, Kenneth, my points estimates show that there are the 5 drivers that are really close in the points down there are all separated by 8 points after that crash. From AJ Green down to Jesse Freeze, there is 8 points separating those 5 drivers, which include Nicholas Vizuzzi, Ricky Rosner, and Brandon Gillis as well. Forrester just a handful of points more so outside the cutoff. I believe a win is going to take for Colin Forrester to get in, and based on how far back in the field those guys that he is racing with are, it's going to be even more difficult because there's not that many spots they can lose. There's not that many more spots that Forrester can gain. So it's somewhere in that gray area where he has to really hope for something magical for Colin Forrester. At least that's what it's looking like at this current moment in time. We know anything could change, but based on the fact that there's not that many spots that can interchange in both directions, and that's just to make it close. We don't know for sure if it's going to be 1 point to the good on a specific position. That's obviously going to come down at the end of the race. But these estimates, if Forrester wants to stand a chance, if he wins the race, no matter what, it's going to be at least a couple of points.
You could definitely argue that it's just too large, even before this race started, for many of the drivers beneath the top 20 to even get into that top 20 mark. And that's not even a playoff entrance. If you just get in the top 20, you're just going to be in top 20 in points, and that's it. You're not even going to be fighting for a championship. So you have to couple the points move with a race win, and pretty much having that needed to get into a playoff fight. That just definitely means that you were definitely behind the 8 ball for a while, but before this race started here tonight from Daytona. So again, we'll continue to keep an eye on that points fight, see if anything does change dramatically. So there is a possibility for those drivers mathematically to get in. It's just a tall task, and they need something really drastic to happen for them to even get close. So we're still going to keep that tab. We're still going to keep riding around that point and letting you know what happens there if it changes in any sort of way. But for the most part, the drivers that you saw at the top of the show in your top 10 are most likely going to be the drivers. If anyone 10th or 11th on back does not win, they will be locked in. All the drivers, Newbraw and all those other guys, are going to stay in via points, even without the win on their belt. So with the Wonder Green signal already out, lights are out on the pace car. Benjamin A. White will be actually the race leader, I believe. Actually, Jacob Denson chose the outside. He was the winner off of pit road. So Benjamin A. White's going to be on the bottom here, row 1. It'll be Lawson Peel and Michael Woolley to the row 2. And then it'll be Nicholas Vizzuti in that 3rd row, followed by Craig Lautenslager, Charlie Harcum, AJ Green behind them, Ken MacArthur, Jesse Prees, which currently round out your top 10 here from Daytona. We are still about 20 laps away from the halfway mark of tonight's event. Pace car is down. Green flag is out from Barney the flagman. And again, Benjamin A. White launches to the front. Lawson Peel will cut down to the bottom. Denson has no help from the outside, but it's White aiming to hold the draft back into turn 1.
White takes the lead. These guys that are up front right now are guys that do need to win to get in. Vizzuzi's still hanging in there, hoping for that top 20 spot. He's in a legitimate spot for it. But more importantly, Michael Woolley, he's 12th in points, and he's up there. If he wins, he's in. Same thing for that 45 behind him, who's 11th in points. If either of those two win, they're in. Lawson Peel, not too many starts in the series. He's just here to try and win the race. No playoff spot on the line for him. You see AJ Green and Jesse Prees already have worked their way, generally speaking, up through the field, probably with some pit strategy on that caution, maybe taking some fuel only. But you see already 3 wide, and that's Benjamin White in the middle.
Yeah, White tried an aimed block there. It was pretty late on Jacob Denson, so that forced him 3. And now that pushes leader Michael Woolley to the middle lane. Gonna give the lead here to who knows. Everybody's still 3 wide, door to door. No convincing leader as here comes Lawson Peel to the bottom side of the racetrack. And out of turn 2, it looks to be Peel up in front. Denson gonna lose everything on the top side.
And Woolley with the aggressive block to the bottom, and that's going to leave the top susceptible to the 39 of White. He's got a big run, and there's a crash further behind. It's Denson. He goes through the grass, and this is not going to be pretty. He's locking it down, trying to keep it. Oh, and that's Forrester following through the grass as well. A separate incident going on with the 99. Doesn't look like there's any crashes on the racetrack, but that did separate the field.
Everybody dodged a bullet there at the entrance of turn 3. Jacob Denson mostly able to get away okay. He's got some damage on the front end. Almost a hit to him by Colin Forrester, but that really jumbled up everybody, and now most of the field separated throughout. Almost contact there between the 69 and the 48, but as of lap 32, we remain clean. Look at the gap here from the first pack to the second.
look how strung out it is, because it's not exactly clear cut. There's just several singular or dual cars side by side that are very strung out as you get further back. But there's a general group of about 12 to 13 cars that are kind of gone from the rest of the field. That's about 3 seconds really until you get further back there, and Brandon Gillis is the last car hanging on to this main group. And right here you're on board Kyle Benson, 3-time winner this season, has nothing to lose, just trying to go out here and win a race at Daytona. There you see Tyler Murray alongside him as well. Murray also in a pretty decent spot when it comes to his playoff situation. He should be good to go. Actually no, Murray is on the outside. He has actually one of the drivers that needs to win to make the playoffs, so got my series confused there. Tyler Murray, if he wants to make it in, he has to win.
He definitely does. And on that back bumper where you see on Kyle Benson's front bumper, it says do or die situation. That's exactly the motive that Tyler Murray for Big Fast Racing is carrying into tonight's race. He's going to have help from his teammates there. Tristan Bailey up in front, that Wonder Bread machine, shades of Ricky Bobby, and of course the Kevin LePage machine behind him, that Ford Fusion. So he is indeed working with the teammates here. That's a good thing that you want to carry as a racing driver here. Michael Woolley, though, still in contention for the lead, although Benjamin A. White just continues to answer back. There hasn't been an unanswered call here, Francisco, from that 39. Every time a driver switches to the bottom, switches to the outside, makes a pass for the lead, White says, okay, I'll do the same to you, and I'll come back at it. And he definitely does. He's able to find the help, this time from the 48 and the 53. But here comes Klinger to the outside to make it 3 wide.
One of the rookie drivers in the field looking to the outside, and he actually scrubs the wall into the entrance of turn 3, so it's actually going to cost him there. A little bit of commentators jinx going on there, but look what that did to the outside lane. It absolutely destroyed their momentum. They're going to lose a couple of cars here and lose momentum, most importantly, and that's going to leave Benjamin White a little bit further down relative to your leader, and that's going to leave the outside lane open for Lawson Peel if he chooses to go up there. And you see Brandon Gillis has not only caught up to the group, but he's actually made some pretty good passes, and now he's up in this mix. And we saw Brandon Gillis in the first Daytona race kind of had a career race by far, one of his best performances that he's ever put on in this series, and right now trying to see if he can at least match what he did in the first time around.
And he's been the biggest mover here tonight. There it is, 32nd to 7th on the racetrack. A total of 24 positions gained on that racetrack tonight so far over the first 35 laps. And Gillis, who you mentioned, Francisco, indeed correct there that Gillis had pretty much his best performance all season long at the Super Speedway at Daytona on the bumpy surface earlier this year. And Gillis trying to have some repeated success as he still rides within the top 10. There's a huge surge here from Big Fast Racing. They've switched up to the middle, so now Bailey, Murray, and Kyle Benson are all going to sort of make this trio here to help Kevin D'Elia and Benjamin A. White on that middle lane. Maybe give them some extra support and still play spoiler. Because remember, Tyler Murray, he is in contention for the playoffs. He does need to win. He is just outside of that top 10. But why not help a spoiler at the front? Drivers who are not eligible for the playoffs to go up front, help them, maybe distract Willie a little bit, and then from there, Murray can kind of work on these drivers who are not eligible, get some help from his teammates in Benson and Bailey, and then be able to cut through and potentially win the race.
Yeah, but at the end, of course, he has to be the one to get into victory lane if he wants to make it into the playoffs, and where it becomes tough is Tristan Bailey's essentially here to win the race too, right? And so is everyone else. But if you're teammates with Tristan Bailey, he'll want to help you, but he's not here exactly to finish second. We know Benson would definitely be on board with that, considering Benson has 3 wins. He's definitely in the playoffs, and he's outrunning Joe Sanchez at the moment, so it looks like he'll definitely probably get the number 1 seed off of him as it stands right now. As you see, Lawson Peel very aggressive with his defending of Benjamin A. White, and now he has to cover the 2 of Tristan Bailey on the bottom. And look what Big Fast has done. They've gotten Tristan Bailey up there. That's Kyle Benson now in the top 5 position, but the last person who didn't get any sort of advantage here was the 8 of Tyler Murray. You see him a little bit further back, and now Bailey's going to move to the outside and go for the lead.
Bailey's going to go to the outside here, and this is shades of Talladega earlier this season. If you can recall that race a couple of months ago, Bailey was a driver to contend for the win multiple times on end, even getting involved in incidents, got back from it, was able to fight from the adversity, and he was still put in a position to win. Unfortunately, was not able to get to victory lane. But as it stands at the moment, he is definitely surging forward with help from his Big Fast Racing teammates. Right, red and yellow car, Kyle Benson. Black and yellow car, Tyler Murray in the 8 machine. And it's Tristan Bailey to the front of the field, the lap 38.
And I think, Kenneth, now's a good time to show just how much the gap is from this lead group to our second group. If we can go look at from above the racetrack at the skybox at the top of our tower, you see right here, there's the main pack. They're going through the tri-oval now, going into turn 1. If you look at the first car of the next group as the field enters turn 1, they're going to be just passing the start-finish line now. They're that far behind. You see them actually turn 4, so they're even further back than what we imagined. Right there, actually now going into turn 1. So that's about 10 seconds that they have back to this second group, which is being led by AJ Green, and I think we'll be able to get a good idea here on the back straightaway if we get a good camera angle here. So there they come off turn 2, and as this pans out, you see them all the way there in turn 3.
It's a large gap, and they're really clinging here to Josh Klinger, which they're probably going to get around him in a couple of moments' time as they're going to switch to the outside. CJ Munier with help from pretty much everybody behind him. They're all single file. They know that they just need to hang around here and hope for either a pit strategy call or a yellow flag to bring the whole field together. So at this point, that 25 of Munier is just kind of holding out hope that the drivers up front are going to get very dicey, that they're going to get caught up in an incident, and they're going to bring out a yellow flag. And with that distance that they have carried between themselves and this first pack, if a crash does happen, it's going to be a lot easier to hop on the binders and get away from the mess before it even happens. So at least for them, they've kind of got a plan in check. The only problem is they don't know if it's going to work at all and if this race is going to stay green. It's kind of simmered between the top leaders here, Francisco. Only 2 cars up at the top lane, so there may be that consideration that either pit stops are coming soon or that these drivers just want to ride around. They don't want to do anything crazy, and this is the moment where they can settle into rhythm, probably race a little bit less, and now just try and click off laps for the end.
Definitely, this is going on board with the ride option. They came down pit road about 15 laps ago, so I don't think fuel's exactly a problem at this current moment in time. But one thing you did mention there, Kenneth, is those guys further back are hoping for a caution. But here's the thing. In every restrictor plate race this season, both ARCA and Cup, as they approach some lap traffic, which is going to make it interesting in the turn 3, we haven't had that many cautions, which is very surprising. Normally, when you go to a restrictor plate track, you're thinking, oh, there's going to be a lot of cautions, a lot of crashes. This could be either a big opportunity or a big disadvantage. Just speaking of disadvantage, you see a move there being made off of turn 4. That's going to cost Wooly the top spot as he moved down after getting clear of the lap traffic. The rest of the line did not. He's going to get shuffled out to the outside of the top 5. And now Benjamin White's going to go for the lead, and that's just reignited this battle for the lead. But as I was saying there previously, Kenneth, that these guys, they've not had a lot of wrecks at the restrictor plate tracks this season, so it's not exactly a guarantee that you're going to get a caution immediately, but as soon as I say that, there's a contact further in the back.
They're bumping everywhere from about 4th on behind. Benjamin White got caught up in a hip check there. Same deal with Ken MacArthur as he's sort of having some connection issues on the bottom. He's going to let the drivers up top by, but Wooly got caught up middle 3, had nowhere to go, kind of swiveled around a little bit, hip checked the 97, almost got into that 39. That could have caused the yellow here at the halfway mark of this race, but now Wooly's got the fire reignited. He's going to get the help here from Kyle Benson, the Kevin LePage machine. And all of a sudden, he's now pushing the race leader, Lawson Peel, back up to the front of the field. And we still talk about how Wooly has to win this race, but maybe has a buffer here from Lawson Peel just because Peel and now Bailey to the outside, they don't need to win as Peel blocks Bailey to the outside, and now Bailey will potentially look to the inside. He's going to hold out still in that middle lane. Ken MacArthur, the last driver, stuck back without any help. And for now, it's Michael Woolley back up to the front with help from the LePage machine.
And that was probably actually a mistake there by the 12. You never want to really block on corner exit. That's why it's the best place to make a move. If the leader makes a block on corner exit, that can easily result in a spin on their own part or just cause a big wreck or any of the above or other choices that could happen. That's why it's the best place to pass and the worst place to defend. That's why when you saw right there that Peel moved up the track to the block, it just ruined so much momentum for him. He fell back down to about 3rd, and now he's recovered. But if you do that on the last lap or any important lap for any important track position, that could easily cost you.
Definitely could. As Benjamin White almost got turned there by the 69. A fantastic save out of the Nebula Esports machine. We don't see that often at all with these ARCA cars. Normally it's a death sentence. That was almost a blessing in disguise there for the entire field. No yellow comes out as Lawson Peel will continue to lead, and Benjamin still stays in the top 5.
And he's still attacking. That's the most impressive part. I think that deserves a replay, Kenneth. We have to look at that again. And this is some natural car control that this guy has. He does this on a regular basis. I am very impressed. He normally runs low steering ratios to do just this. You see right there, a little bit of a tap. We talked about it.
Oof.
Any tap causes that to happen, and any other driver, no disrespect whatsoever, will probably lose control of that race car. But as you look here, small little tap, very out of control. And look at that wheel.
And that's quick reaction time also as well. Not even with the steering ratio, not even with the way he put the inputs on that car. He reacted quick enough. He saw the push coming. He saw everything happening, and he reacted just at the right time to keep that car in place. And guess what? He's still fighting for the lead up top 3 wide.
Still in the top 5, never lost positions doing that, but he's actually going to get, oh, what another save. He saves it, but they wreck behind him. The 97 involved Tristan Bailey in that one. They spin towards the inside. Heavy contact for the 97. The 54 actually comes back up on the racetrack, not Tristan Bailey. No caution for the 54 as he is on the racing surface. Admins have not thrown a yellow flag yet as this second group has caught up to the 54. It looks like the 54 has gone to the apron. Maybe no caution, but that's a big one there for Ken MacArthur.
That was a huge one for the 97, and I think he can thank his lucky stars here that he's locked into the playoffs via the win at Daytona earlier this year, because if he was in any other place, that could have been the huge detriment there to end his playoff hopes. So let's take a look at the replay and see exactly how this all began, and wonder to ourselves how this wasn't a yellow between the guys up at the front of the field. You'll see it here as the 97 gets hit. We talked about Benjamin A. White save. There's the lap car, Josh Klinger. It's going to be White here that comes just a little bit down the track, gets into the 97, gets the second check, and into the 54. The 97 will go, and then bam, into the inside safety barrier. Gets caught up within that transition between pretty much straight concrete wall and a safer barrier to the bottom side. Josh Klinger would end up spinning up top on the racing surface, but again, as Francisco mentioned, no yellow flag from the race officials, so we are indeed still green flag racing, and it is still contentious at the front of the field as we come closer to halfway. Tristan Bailey still fighting door-to-door with Lawson Peel.
And it was at a bit of a lower speed, but that hit right there, you saw that safer barrier or tire wall that's kind of there where the 97 hit in turn 1, and that was obviously added after the crash that Kyle Busch had here during the Xfinity race in 2015 that resulted in a broken leg and a broken foot. So that goes to part of the safety renovations that we've had here at Daytona, and almost every racetrack implementing safer barrier and doing a lot of safety precautions after that crash, because to think in a year like 2015, with all the renovations, all the futuristic things that were added to NASCAR in just the last 15 years after the unfortunate passing of Dale Earnhardt, you really think that something like that wouldn't happen. So NASCAR took a big step after that, and that's what's really stepped things forward with the safer barriers added to the inside and outside wall of every racetrack that NASCAR goes to now.
It's a huge safety improvement, of course, after that injury from Kyle Busch back in 2015. I know they immediately decided we cannot have this anymore as they come across a lap car here. It gets real dangerous where Josh Klinger is. That's on board here with Colin Forster, who is a lap down currently in 22nd. So, no, he is not fighting for the front spot in the field. He is currently near the rear trying to get back on the lead lap if he still hangs in with the top at least 4 to 5 cars here in this group. But indeed, yes, a big safety improvement to add safer barriers all over each and every track that NASCAR visits, and I think it's a huge blessing that we do have those safety innovations today, because if not, then we definitely could have had a lot of drivers not here with us today. Unfortunately, we have a lot of those drivers, even with scary crashes, still in the cars, still racing as hard as ever, and still being as safe as ever with the way NASCAR has implemented their safety rules. Tristan Bailey just hit the outside wall there for a bit of moment, so he's falling back through the group, so that gives the lead back to Michael Woolley. Here comes Kyle Benson up top. Now he's going to get help from the 99, a teammate in the 8 of Tyler Murray. There's Lawson Peel, and even at the halfway mark, Francisco, I mentioned for a moment they were at least single file for a moment, and I said, okay, they're playing it patient. They're probably going to just log some laps here if we stay green to the next pit stop cycle. I was completely wrong. They're still racing for the lead.
And that happened because they caught up to a lap car, and as soon as Woolley went back down to the bottom to continue going single file, they didn't follow him. So that immediately sparked back up this double wide action. But, to kind of finish off on what we were talking about previously, the very next week after that the Daytona 500, not many people remember this, but Jeff Gordon was involved in a crash on the backstretch of Atlanta, and he hit the concrete wall just before the safer barrier, and that took the wind out of him. Yeah, that was a hard crash to the inside wall that goes undershadowed really after what happened to Kyle Busch, and that's when NASCAR definitely decided, yes, this has to happen now. I think they were deciding, slowly implement it to every track, but after that one, they were sold. That had to happen everywhere. And I do think that Indianapolis is probably the only track that they go to that does not have it, and not because Indianapolis Motor Speedway can't do it, but because they run the road course, they run the Indy cars there. So having the safer barrier on the straightaways, I'm not sure what the Speedway and the I forgot the sponsor name, but IndyCar Series decide to manage there. But that's probably why the Indianapolis Motor Speedway does not have it. They stab it in the corners, but not the straightaways. If you were to go look at the racetrack.
That's sort of interesting because back in the IRL kart dispute back in the late 90s, Tony George was the owner of the Indianapolis Motor Speedway at the time, and he pioneered for the introduction of the safer barrier to put it in the corners at IMS. Of course, they don't have it on the straights, but in the corners where we've seen multiple times drivers get a flat tire or just overcook the corner and they go straight into the wall. It definitely has helped in a lot of cases for that safer barrier to be there, and it's protected a lot of drivers from potential heavy injury or potential passings from certain crashes at that IMS speedway. So interesting that they don't have it all around the track. Hopefully they put it in sooner than later, but we'll just keep an eye on that, especially if they continue to run the Indy 500 over there. But we're on a completely different topic. We're talking Daytona here for the ARCA series in full wide action, and now we have two drivers outside the top 10 working with each other for the first time tonight. That's Tyler Murray you're right on board with for Big Fast Racing. He's got a teammate Kyle Benson up at the front of the field, but like we mentioned a couple times here tonight, Francisco, that 69 is not a friend, he's an enemy, but he's a friend for now.
I think everyone's an enemy at this point of the race, because look at this, here comes Murray to the top, trying to make it 3 wide. He's got Tristan Bailey behind him. That should give him some help to get up there. And Benson, these big fast guys are moving their way up to the front, and we've been not spared of any action as Murray actually tags the wall. They're going to go 4 wide momentarily as he almost makes contact with his teammate Gillis into the back of Bailey. They're both in the wall, so that has really turned sour for those guys.
It does, and the 8 machine into the outside wall. Tristan Bailey had the same problem earlier, and the Big Fast Racing 8 is all alone with no one to help. He's going to have to wait for CJ Munier and all the other cars behind him to catch, but it is a long road between these guys here and where Murray is at the moment. So it's a big spread once again between the front and the rear of the field. As now here comes White back to the inside. He's going to try and tango for second with Benson to his top side as we come to the halfway mark of this race, as Willie still leads back into turn 1. It's still remarkably tight between the leaders, but I think they've calmed it down for the moment, unless they probably get to another batch of lap cars. White may be attempting a move here out of turn 2. He will. So we're going to go side by side again for the race lead. But as we're at the halfway mark of this race, we'll let you know what's happening with our race summary. Presented as always by Super Mix. We've got 54 laps completed so far. A total of 46 laps remain here for the Daytona International Speedway and the final regular season race for the Full Wide Racing ARCA Series in 2021. We've had a total of 25, yes, 25 and counting lead changes at the front of the field as Benson will lead this lap to the trial bowl. We've only had 2 cautions for 5 laps. That's your race summary tonight, presented as always by Super Mix as Kyle Benson takes the race lead in turn 1.
It's another lead change there, and you saw the stat update at the last second just before it went away. So we have 26. Basically, every other lap in this race, we've seen a lead change, which is very impressive, especially with all the green flag laps. That's probably played a big portion into it. And, another thing, Kenneth, it's been a while since we've done this. I think now's a good time to go crank it up.
New race leader Tristan Bailey, the Ricky Bobby Wonder Machine, up to the front of the field as we come across for 40 laps remaining here from the virtual Daytona International Speedway. It was a pass from the outside lane. Some help up top from the 99 of Colin Forster. Now the Big Fast Racing number 2 is commanding the field. Lawson Peel to second. Kyle Benson in third. Fourth place to Michael Woolley. Top 5 is encompassed with Curtis Kelly. Benjamin White has fallen out. He's just outside the top 5. Actually, he is within the top 5, just behind the 71 machine. And everybody else just mostly single file. Again, mentioned a huge breakup between that first pack and what's left of this second one here, starting with CJ Munier and a long list of cars. Charlie Harcum, Craig Launslager, Joe Sanchez, Tyler Murray, Jeremy Gibbs, Eric Schaefer. So many drivers in that group. And now everybody's single file here, Francisco, which means maybe some calm before the storm in the final 40.
I think this what means is that we're going to be seeing pit stops soon. I was hearing some conversations over the radio while we were doing the crank it up, and these guys might be pitting sometime in the next 5 to 10 laps, maybe sooner, because if you remember correctly, our restart was around the lap 30, just a little bit before mark probably, and with our usual 75% fill, that does mean that they're going to be coming in anytime soon. Surprisingly, at super speedways, the ARCA car gets better mileage than the Cup cars, which is probably one of the few times it does, but look at that! As soon as we talk about it, they're coming in.
Here comes leader Tristan Bailey, Lawson Peel, all of the guys up at the front, slowing down for the entrance of pit road. And sooner than later, we're going to have our first batch of green flag pit stops here with just under 40 laps remaining. There's everybody in that first pack, including Curtis Kelly, Colin Forster, lap cars of the field, everybody lead lap cars up here. And now we'll just keep an eye on whether the second pack ends up going down, because remember, CJ Munier and a lot of others were probably looking to pit road or maybe looking to change things up. There's Eric Schaefer, part of that second group. He's on pit road. There's Lawson Peel, leaders coming off this time by, and it's a nice switcheroo here for Lawson Peel. He takes the lead off of pit road. And I don't believe we really had many drivers stay out apart from these guys right here. 48 of Green, the 5 of Harris, and the 53 of D'Elia. There's Harris with a huge dive, and he's going to make it to pit road speed limit.
Yeah, one person I was concerned for was Tristan Bailey, because as we were watching him come into pit road, you saw the exhaust flames. They were still back kind of firing off well after the pit road cone. So that does mean he was checking up or at least shifting. So that could mean potentially he was speeding. He did exit with these guys, but we'll have to see if he does come in, serve any sort of penalty, because at least unbeknownst to me right now, he does not have a speeding penalty. Of course, if he does come back in, that would encompass the fact that he does. But it doesn't seem as though anybody did get any penalties on pit road during these green flag pit stops, which is kind of crazy to think about, Kenneth. Normally you have at least one guy that has an incident entering pit road or speeds coming onto pit road, but at least so far, everybody's been clean.
It's a good thing to see out of the entire field, especially given the fact that you're going about 185 miles per hour in the draft, and then you have to hop on the brakes to go all the way to pit road speed limit. There's a pass here for the race lead as AJ Green, Mark Harris, Nicholas Suzuki, a lot of others come out of pit road. So Tristan Bailey and Lawson Peel will take over the first 2 spots on the field. Kyle Benson will also follow suit with Michael Woolley in tow. But now what the most interesting part about this is, Francisco, is the amount of separation. There's not a big pack really in sight. You maybe see 3, 4, maybe 5 cars in some extreme cases, but usually everyone's up cooped in within 1, 2, or 3 cars. It's not big at all between the field, and the huge pack that we saw, at least back to the top 10, that's gone. Your top 2 in a tandem from third on back.
And this is because of the green flag stops. You have people that have a little bit of a different amount of fuel they put in, maybe different strategies, and entrance and exits do matter. So you see a little bit of a separation right now. Benjamin A. White definitely still in the draft of these guys, but he is going to try and catch up. And what I'm hearing, Kenneth, is that these guys cannot go to the end of the race on fuel. They are about 7 laps short from what I'm hearing at this current moment in time. And those are the ones who pitted latest. So those that came in about 4 laps ago will probably have to pit again somewhere around 5 to 10 laps to go in this race. So if we stay green, we are either going to see them split this run or go all the way to the end in hopes of a yellow to pit under caution and set up a shootout. But all is in the air right now. As you see, Benjamin A. White did catch up with that draft, and he's now trying to make some moves and see if he can do anything. He's got a big run down the back straightaway. He's actually going to get next to your race leader, but without any help, it's going to be very difficult to get clear of him. And in fact, he won't with the lack of help. So that won't work out for him. And also, Kenneth, very quickly want to mention, Josh Klinger a couple laps ago was shown the black flag with the white cross. So he was disqualified as he did not keep up minimum speed. And you saw him with that rear bumper damage. You saw him going very slowly around the racetrack, getting lapped several times. They were giving him a penalty. He had gotten disqualified.
So Josh Klinger out of this race, and if you want to touch on pit road strategy, then I'll reach back to you on this one. That's Jacob Denson coming out of pit road, the 45 carbon machine. I'll touch back to you on this one because I'm usually 100% wrong on strategy most of the time when we're on broadcast. So I'll touch to you who's kind of our Larry McReynolds in the booth. If you're a driver here, given situation, let's say you're beneath the top 20. Let's say you're in that cut line, and you don't have a place in the playoffs just yet. You want to put yourself there. What do you have to do here dramatically to get yourself in if this stays green? That's a big if. I don't want to jinx. But if this does stay green, what can you do as a driver here to play the strategy correctly and at least give yourself a chance up front?
Well, right now, the drivers that look like they could do something are the AJ Green machine, the Jesse Prees car, and of course Brandon Gillis. Those are the three guys in that top 20 area that are looking to get in that can do something. Of course, other guys that are in this lead pack that aren't in that cutoff, that are well above, that can do something. We've mentioned the likes of Michael Woodley. He could potentially work his way up there and win. So there's four guys in this lead draft that if they were to win, they were to get in. And it really just comes down to what they decide to do. You see right now they're single file. They're kind of clicking off these laps right now. So at least in this current moment in time, there's not much you can do. But you do want to position yourself so that in the end you can make the right moves at the right time in the right track position. So right now, Tristan Bailey obviously just here for the win. He's out front. Lawson Peel also here for the win, out front. Kyle Benson here for the win, out front. These guys, they're only going for the win. They're not exactly worried about the playoffs in this current moment in time. So that does give the aggression in terms of trying to make something happen to them. They have the advantage in trying to get something done because those guys in their playoffs, as much as they also want to be aggressive, they still kind of have to take care of it.
Here's a look on board from CJ Munir back in 11th, just checking in on this second pack. They were about probably 8 to 9 strong in the rear of the field, but now they're just at about 5 cars here, maybe 6 if you count in that 42 of Christopher Bishop. And it has been CJ Munir at the front of this for the most part. He's gotten help from the 13, 55, 46, you name it. These drivers have just kind of been switching around, helping this 25 Lowe's machine in their route, at least aiming to get back up to the front of the field. But if you want to talk about strategy, there's another point right there between now both Bailey and CJ Munir. They're in very different spots on the racetrack, but they have the same problem now, which is they're burning off the most fuel out of anybody in the pack. They're not in the draft. They can't lift off the throttle, so they are pretty much just wasting fuel away every single lap. CJ Munir is doing it in clean air with nobody in front of him. Tristan Bailey's doing it in clean air with no one in front of him. So they have the same problem here coming to 30 laps to go when they reach the trioval, Francisco. And now they've got to play it smart, either to tuck behind traffic, find a way to get some draft like Tristan Bailey may do here with Jesse Prees, or just maybe drop back, hope something changes.
And look at Benjamin White. He's wasting no time. He wants to get up there and get to the lead. He's going to go to the outside with no help as Forster does get in line. They're 3 wide for the second in line position at least. Not for actual racetrack position necessarily. But despite him being out front and burning the most fuel, Kenneth, you're right about that. It's not going to make a huge difference because they can't make it. Nobody can make it. It's just too many laps to save, even with draft, that they won't be able to go all the way to the end of the race without having to come down pit road again. And the reason we can determine that is this. They went green flag on our last restart around lap 29 or 30. We saw them coming in around lap 61, 62 to 63 in that sort of range, up to lap 65, I think was the latest we saw. So if you were to repeat that same number of laps over to this following run, beginning on, say, lap 61, that's at least 32, 33 laps they'd have to run again. So when you put that on top of that, that's around lap 93, 94. So we are going to see these guys not make it to the end of the race on fuel, guaranteed.
So that means one more pit stop, of course, in tow as they're on board here with Kyle Benson here. Jesse Priest now going to step in front of the race leaders. So if Tristan Bailey wants to at least save just a little bit to maybe help his chances of pitting later than these guys and getting some track position out of it, then maybe he's got it here as Priest is going to step in front. He is going to take the lead. Benjamin A. White's going to fight up top here with help from Kyle Benson and Nicholas Vizuzzi. So it's a 3 versus pretty much everybody on the bottom side of the racetrack. And for now, Jesse Priest is going to be locked in here to the front. This is what Jesse Priest needs. Again, Francisco, driver just inside the top 20 on the cut line going into tonight. So as long as he can stay into the top 20, he can get this win, then he will be a playoff driver in coming into the next 2 weeks at the Bristol Motor Speedway. So Priest now taking the risk here on the strategy to come up front and lead some laps of his own. And what that is also is going to do, Francisco, is give him an extra point. If you lead laps, you're going to get points here from the Daytona International Speedway. So not only is this just a tactical position to put himself into a good spot with 30 laps to go, but it's also in a place to give him an extra cushion in the point standings, because +1 is better than none.
Yeah, it's going to help his situation as far as the points are concerned relative to those around him, but he does have to win this race regardless. So any sort of chance he stands, it's going to come down to winning this race.
It is going to come down to winning this race. There's a look on board. He started in 22nd. Now he's on his way up at the front of the field. There are some cars up ahead, and give or take, that's a good amount. I'd say 8 or so cars, 7 or so cars there in that grouping up ahead of them, and it ends with about Christopher Bishop here in that 42. Jacob Denson's in this group as well, but it tails all the way up to, I believe, about Colin Forrester here, or a couple of the drivers just beneath the field there. Eric Schaefer. There's Ken MacArthur, actually. He's the one leading this, the driver who hit the inside wall not too long ago in tonight's race that did not bring out a yellow flag. So these drivers are just aiming to hold out for the final laps, but they are really getting reeled in by the leaders. You're right on board with Priest. Take a look through the back straightaway. There's a look at the back bumper of, I believe that's Jacob Denson or Brian Dixon, either one of them. And they are rapidly approaching with more cars in tow and a lot more drafts. So they're probably going to put a lot more drivers a lap down or more. And what that's only going to do is make things tougher for those guys to get some track position at this last pit stop. Because if they do have to pit coming to 25 laps to go, then they're going to have to pit. Leaders are going to come by. It's only going to put them either 1 lap down, 2 laps down, 3 laps down, wherever they're standing. It's only just going to add a lap to that. And these drivers don't want to see that as Priest comes around at turn 1, and they are really getting closer to his back bumper. So Priest continues to lead out front, going to get around some lap traffic, but it'll be our time to take a moment and step aside, but you won't miss a thing here from the Daytona International Speedway as Jesse Priest continues to man the 4-wide field in round 17 of the 4-wide Racing ARCA Series, the final race of the regular season from Daytona at 00, looking for an entrance into the playoffs as we continue our coverage on the KBueno Racing Network.
iRacing is a sim racing game that combines a true-to-life racing experience with an online community of virtual racers from all around the globe. iRacing offers a multitude of officially licensed cars and tracks, laser scanned with millimeter accuracy. Their car models and mechanical systems are based on real-world physics, engineered in cooperation with manufacturers and race teams. Their skill license system ranges from rookie to pro, ensuring members are always pitted against those with similar skill sets. Members are able to sign up for a weekly race series, compete in time trials, host a private race with friends, and participate in racing leagues created and run by the community. With over 170,000 members, iRacing works in partnership with renowned motorsports organizations like NASCAR to deliver virtual races based on the real-life NASCAR Cup Series, as well as many other series on the NASCAR ladder. iRacing also features team racing, providing a variety of options for members to create and manage their own teams. Race with friends or real-world teammates in full-length endurance events like the 24 Hours of Daytona, Spa 24, or the Bathurst 12 Hour. Additional partners include IMSA, World of Outlaws, Supercars, and IndyCar, allowing members to race in their very own Indianapolis 500, Bathurst 1000, Chili Bowl, and many more iconic events. This is iRacing, delivering the most authentic racing experience short of getting into a real race car. Sign up today at iRacing.com.
Back live from the virtual Daytona International Speedway, and you see a damaged 39 of Benjamin A. White. That brings out the caution with under 20 laps to go, as the leaders had been mixed up with some lap machines. It was contact between the 97 of Ken MacArthur and that 39 machine, the Nebula Esports car of Benjamin A. White. That brings out the yellow once again. That's our third yellow of the evening here tonight from the World Center of Racing. Take a moment to look and see just how this all started, Francisco. We were looking at it under break. Looked fine from pretty much just most of the laps up until this point, but it's this crash right here that sets everything in stone for the caution. Here's a move 3 wide. Here's a block from the 97. The rest is history.
Yeah, unfortunately, lead lap cars and racing with lap cars here at super speedways, it doesn't usually end well, and that was the case here tonight. You see Ken MacArthur, he was running in the second row, but he was lapped. They had just caught that lap traffic a handful of laps ago. They integrated, and right here, Benjamin White trying to get up there. You see the leaders are on the front. He's trying to get up there. He is racing for a win. He moves up here. He goes to that third line. You see MacArthur kind of swiveling over, and just cuts across the nose.
And White was not happy, to say the least, over the radio to Ken MacArthur. And this is the second time, mind you, that these two got collected in some sort of crash here tonight. First one, if you saw the incident there between those two the first time around, where the 97 got hit to the inside wall, no yellow was waved. It was contact with that 39. This is the second time that they tango here. And for the 39 of White, he's going to be eager to get that faster pair. His race is not over, but it's going to be put on the back foot. He was fourth at the time of that caution with the 97 of Ken MacArthur. What that did do, though, in terms of positive news, is help the drivers who were concerned about the fuel to the end of the race. Everybody went down pit road, so they are going to be good on gas for the rest of this race. No concerns about how long they're going to be able to make it. So now it's just all about what they can do in these final 20 laps to set themselves up for a 4-wide racing ARCA win in the final race of the regular season. And the winner off of pit road was the 10, the big fast racing car of Kyle Benson. It was a great pit stop for him, an 8.1 second stop just to get fuel only. It's about another 1.3 seconds in faster than Lawson Peel, who ends up second out of pit road. Bailey, who was the leader at the time, he ends up in third. And just with AJ Green there, so they're going to be in row number 2 by the time we go back green. So this sets everything into a whole different ballpark here, Francisco, just because everybody's good on fuel. Now it's just about dogfighting to the very end. We've got drivers here that have never won, drivers here that are locked in, drivers here that need to win to lock themselves in. It's a whole host of cars that have different plans, different motives for the end of this race. And you have to believe that whatever happens in the final 20 is going to be memorable to cap off the regular season here tonight.
Memorable and chaotic. I think those two will go together with how this race is going to finish here. We have several guys going for a win that aren't exactly looking at a playoff spot. We have some guys that are in the playoffs already trying to get a win, namely Kyle Benson, Joe Sanchez, who's been quiet but has worked his way to the top 10. And then you have guys that are trying to get in with a win. And you see them right there. You see Jesse Freeze. You see Brandon Gillis up there once again. AJ Green's in this battle. So anything can still happen. Anything is still on the table. And before we go green, Kenneth, I know that most of our viewers will remember this from the end of last season, but it hasn't been mentioned in a while. Our occasional NBA update before we go green flag. The top two teams in the league are played tonight. Warriors versus Nets. Warriors came out on top of that one.
And I was watching a clip of Steph Curry playing clamp defense on James Harden, so that played into their win as well. It's been a while. I mean, we were talking about playoffs, finals. At one point, we took a break. Now the season's back, and we're back under green here from Daytona. It's a good restart there for the race leader, Kyle Benson. But he got a good jump here. AJ Green going to follow to maybe give him some support. Lawson Peel, who would most likely be reluctant to go down there given the space, does not do so. He's going to trust Tristan Bailey on the outside lane, followed by Kevin D'Elia and CJ Munier. He was leading that second group, mind you, by the time we were green off of the cycle of pit stops. And now him, now Charlie Hartcomb, Craig Launslager, all of the guys in that second pack are back in the game. Now here's Lawson Peel, shove from Tristan Bailey. Lawson Peel to the race lead in turn 3.
He takes the lead with help from Tristan Bailey, but it's not over yet. You see Kyle Benson on that inside. You see Kevin D'Elia with CJ Munier. They're all trying to fight their way to the front. They know they have a second opportunity. They don't want to let it go this time, and with 17 laps to go, this is their chance.
This is definitely their chance. Pio now commanding that inside lane. Bailey going to have a lot more cars to suffice there up top, so he'll most likely get the advantage as they come back to the 31 degrees of banking. And now Kevin D'Elia, CJ Munier, Charlie Hartcomb are in the fight for the race win. Couple of them not locked in. Hartcomb pretty much the only one on that outside line that really is. And now there's Benjamin White. If you can see him, that faint Nebula Esports car on the outside lane behind Tyler Murray. He's aiming to get back in the action as well.
Back into the action for the 8 of Tyler Murray, and obviously, this is the last opportunity, essentially, for some of these guys to see a move there to the inside. Benson trying to go back for the race lead. He's got help from AJ Green. Jesse Prees further behind there. You can tell, Kenneth, the intensity has picked up. It is now the end of the race, and we have a caution.
Caution out. It's Michael Newbraw. Spun around in the tri-oval. He comes to rest just in front of the iRacing official pace car, which has just lit up the lights. And it's ready to command the field with 15 left in this race. Not sure exactly who he got tagged by. We'll confirm that in just a moment. But that 56 went for a spin around. No extra damage on his Chevrolet, so he's going to be able to continue. But that does bring us back under the yellow flag. Take a look at how this all began and actually did collect a lot of other drivers. This is going to be heartbreaking, Francisco, because guess who's involved? Michael Woolley in the 69 along with Michael Newbraw. Ken MacArthur in it. Started with a huge checkup up at the front of the field. Right on board with Newbraw. This is not going to be pretty as everybody slows up. And Newbraw has nowhere to go but around.
You see right there the checkups. It's a domino effect. You see just somebody eventually doesn't do so or doesn't check up enough. And you see several cars actually involved in that one in the trial as they were going past the start-finish line. And obviously, we know Michael Woolley, he was trying to get in for that playoff spot, so this wreck is not going to help his case. Obviously, Ken MacArthur was is in the playoffs with that win at the first Daytona race. It's not looking like he's going to repeat, but he is safely through into the playoffs. But this is not going to be good for some of these guys further in the back that were trying to look forward to getting in. Michael Newbraw in the 10th position in the standings, so he is safe. Remember, he is safe. Oh, we actually see a car there pop on its side. I'm not sure if you saw it last second. It was the 5 machine.
That was Mark Harris, CarQuest car, in his first start here from Daytona. And he goes tumbling alongside Ken MacArthur, our first flip of the night here from the World Center of Racing. And for Harris, this is not going to be, I guess, the most positive first ever start in the series from the Super Speedway as he continues to limp his car to the back straightaway, and we can only hope that he can bring it down pit road for service, or that he does have a faster pair in tow for him. What that is going to do, though, is bunch up the field once more for another restart. And I believe the lights are still on the pace car, so we'll go another extra lap, and Lawson Peel will have a chance to decide what he's going to do in the final 13 laps to win this race. And again, we're still at the talk point about the drivers in the top 20 and how they're going to be able to position themselves for the end of this race. Lawson Peel, not one of them. Neither is Benson. Neither is Bailey. AJ Green, not one of them. But Jesse Prees is really the first one on that cut line that needs to come away with a win here tonight. We mentioned him earlier in this race with heavy damage after being involved in an incident. He got the faster pair at the midway part of the race. He's all good to go. And he has been competitive up front ever since that last cycle of green flag pit stop. So it is still in the running for Jesse Prees to come away with a win. Tyler Murray, a couple positions back. He is also still mathematically eligible to hop into the playoff grid just outside the top 10. Brandon Gillis, also a shot as well. So there's a heap of drivers here, Francisco, that do have that shot. Only thing is they have to get to victory lane, and they got to find their way sooner than later, because if we do continue to get cautions, if we follow the trend that cautions do breed the cautions, then these drivers are only just going to have less time and decreasing, really, if the field just continues to get jumbled up and they don't have a lot of time to make up spots under green.
But in contrast, it also these cautions, what it also does is make the field smaller. So it does give them a little bit more leeway in that sense, where there's less cars to worry about. So it does give you a little bit more freelance, especially when you're trying to get up to speed. It makes it difficult in terms of time, but that's the only aspect that makes it difficult, because in all other aspects, it makes it easier, especially on these restarts, because you can have less people to worry about, and you're just a little bit more in control of what happens. And based on what we're seeing here, we're going double file now, so we'll have a restart with 12 laps to go in this race, Kenneth, and it's safe to say this will not be the final restart of the night, but it is looking like we still have no idea what's going to happen. Kyle Benson and Lawson Peel may be this front row, but who's to say they're both going to even finish in the top 5? That's what we're here for.
And remember, these two are just going for the win. No extra strings necessary to pull. No nothing. No additional anything. They just want to walk away with a win. And that's all there is to it. Benson is locked into the playoffs with 3 wins on the campaign. So no matter what happens here tonight, whether he finishes in the rear or in the front, he's still going to be a part of those 10 to fight for a championship. Lawson Peel, not in contention for the points. He hasn't run enough races for this series, so he's just going for the win. He's already got a playoff run ready to go in the Cup Series in a couple of weeks' time, so he's probably focused on that endeavor and just focusing on having fun here tonight. You've got the aggressive drivers in Tristan Bailey, newcomers now for this race win with AJ Green, Jesse Prees, Tyler Murray needing to win this race, Sanchez looking for his 4th, Harcum looking for his 2nd after winning at the Rockingham Speedway last week. There is so much in the air here from Daytona as the field will come out of turn 3 and 4. Pace car will make its way to the left side to pit road, and it will be Peel, the Chevrolet, Kyle, the Ford, ready to get things going here with about 12 laps, coming to 11 laps remaining from the virtual Daytona International Speedway. Pace car is off, green flag is in the air, and still the leaders tail up the gears. It is side by side, no convincing jump, some caution, or at least some crashing behind them. Not sure if that's going to result in a yellow. We're going to stay green for now. Look at Prees trying to split the middle 3 as Sanchez gets turned.
Big wreck in the back. Sanchez involved. Several cars involved. Benjamin White in it as well. Harcum. You see Gillis just barely make it through. Kelly involved. You see right there also the I believe that's the 13 of Lautenslager in that. Michael Newbraw in it as well. He's going to be out of contention for this race. But Tyler Murray, that's a crucial one, Kenneth. We saw him already fix damage once. This is likely his playoff hopes down.
Unbelievable there for Tyler Murray, who, by the way, has not used the faster pair, but he's going to be set pretty much all the way back in track position. And it's a huge crash in turns 1 and 2 to bring us back under the yellow flag once again here tonight. You'll take another look at just how everybody packed into it, into that first 2 corners. Everybody was trying to make way for something to give here, Francisco, but it ends in the worst way possible as multiple cars get turned around, and I believe it started with that 55 of Sanchez. He got turned at the front of the field, and then all of a sudden that collected everybody else with Tyler Murray and with a bunch of other drivers as well. Look at this. Everybody comes to the restart. This is clean. Watch Jesse Priest make a move 3 wide here under AJ Green. It'll stack up these drivers just a bit, but it's right there. 55 gets turned by the 8 of Murray. All of a sudden, there's CJ Munier, Brandon Gillis. So many drivers collected in the incident. And now we've got a caution with 10 laps to go. There's another look at the contact. And it's the big one in turn 1.
And look at that avoidance by Woolley. Let's go on board with him, because not only did he pass all these guys, but he kept his car clean, which is the most important factor here. Everybody but Murray that was near this wreck, that was on that cusp of needing to win, got through. Murray, unfortunately, the odd man out. But look at this. You see the wreck on the bottom. They come back up the track. Wreck right there. Just hook a left, go through the grass. And that is a wreck avoidance right there that could make or break the season for the 69.
Unbelievable job. And we mentioned another move earlier tonight by another driver in a similar position. And Michael Woolley takes some advice. He goes through the wreckage, and now he's going to be even closer to the front of the field. He is going to be 9th, so he does still have some cars to get through before this race is said and done, but that also does make things easier for him. A lot of drivers being taken out in that crash. Some drivers had used the faster pair before that wreckage, so their races are most likely done, apart from a handful. So that is going to help him track position-wise, and of course, there is no really any consideration to go down pit road. It's going to be stay out, stay out, stay out. Just run it all the way to the end, as the field will scramble behind the pace car and wait until we can get word that everybody's okay and we'll be set to go back green. There's all the drivers coming down pit road. Benjamin A. White is officially out of this race. He's on pit road. There he is. He had burned the faster pair earlier tonight after a previous wreck with Ken MacArthur, so his race is most likely done. Unfortunate for the pole sitter here tonight, who had been doing so well up until this moment. Tyler Murray is going to get the faster pair clicked off now, so it's a good call by him to hold on to it until the very end. But he's going to be back in, I believe, P15 on the track, so he is going to be buried in track position, and he does not want that for the end of this race after being pretty much the closest he's been all night long to a race win. And for now, everybody's going to double up. Just wait. And I believe the anxiety here is picking up, Francisco. I think the anxiety probably even higher here for Jesse Priest, because he was just on the latter half of the top 10 before the restart. He now sits 4th.
And he's really been patient and made that aggressive move when he had to, and fortunately got ahead of the inevitable wreck. So maybe that really worked out in his favor. And as the lights go out on the pace car indicating 1 to green, that should mean a restart with 8 laps left to go in this race. We see exactly how this picture's starting to get painted. We know that Kyle Benson has 3 wins already in the season, that he's just here to try and get the win, to add on to that and solidify the 1 seed. Tristan Bailey is a teammate of his. He's just here to try and win the race. And with Murray effectively not up here, they could try to work together and get Tristan Bailey a win. We know that Bailey would very much like a win. We know Benson would too. But if depending on which way they're leaning towards, as far as getting Benson the 1 seed or getting Bailey a win, we'll see how that plays out. But also behind them, Lawson Peel trying to get his first ARCA win of the season. Jesse Priest trying to make the playoffs. Kevin D'Elia trying to get his first win in the ARCA series. And also we see Michael Woolley, who had that great save, still racing for his season. These guys have to win the race. Colin Forster, who's been involved in incidents and had close calls. You see him right there in the 7th spot. He has to win to get in. Eric Schaefer, I believe, is also in a situation where he has to win to get in. Craig Lautenschlager's in on points. Curtis Kelly in on that win back at Myrtle Beach. Joe Sanchez, you saw him involved, pulled that faster pair. So those are the guys right now in the top 14 or so. They still all have a chance. 8 laps at Daytona, still a long time before you can actually say case closed on something happening.
Anything can happen. It's all open in the air, and with Tyler Murray, I think, mostly out of this race. Got to figure the big fast racing duo here on the first row are probably going to look to make sure that Jesse Priest or anybody else who's in that top 20 in points do not get a win in the final 8. Pace cars down, green flags in the air, and it's Kyle Benson, Tristan Bailey, a full gridlock to the field. They'll be able to command the first row for the moment, but a separation between everybody in the field as they'll sail back for turn 1.
And I'm surprised they didn't orchestrate something there. You know that they're teammates, but they also are in the same voice channel for these races. And look at Priest. He's going to go to the bottom. He's going to go behind Benson. He's got Brandon Gillis following him. Gillis still with a good opportunity to do all this race. And Woolley around into the 22 of Schaefer. Lonslager involved. Another one involved there towards the inside. It looks to be Kivett.
Multiple cars involved, but somehow, no yellow on the racetrack, and now the yellow will fly finally after the big mess ensued on the back straightaway. Michael Woolley among those involved, Eric Schaefer in it as well. There's the damage on the Kodiak Chevrolet. And again, we have ourselves just another moment of rest behind the pace car before we can finally call this race official. And it was a big stack on the back straightaway as Schaefer comes right back into the outside wall. What a tough ending for Schaefer here tonight. And now he just has to hope that nobody inside the top 20 gets a win. As Tony Kivett stopped on the racetrack, he's going to slam directly into him. But as for that, Schaefer just has to hope that nobody goes to victory lane that is in the top 10. He'll be okay, but we'll take a moment to step aside and give ourselves a breather here and review exactly what went down here on the back straightaway, Francisco, because it was a rather big mess, and it started with contact on the faded back straightaway, which we've had many incidents here before, but it began with that 69 of Michael Woolley where he was kind of in the middle, just running his own line. I think there's contact here between him and Schaefer coming off the final corner, or the second corner rather. Gets tagged by Lonslager, and it causes the big one on the back straightaway.
That seems to be exactly what happened. Lonslager right on his tail throughout the entirety of the corner. You see right there, just right on him, and doesn't exactly come off. And as the 69 drifts up on corner exit, that lines up the bumper oddly, or the 13 slides up, excuse me, and that's what sends the 69 into the 22. Schaefer, unfortunately, you see right there, the 45 and the 8 get involved. Denson, who's in a position where he has to win, same thing with Murray. They get some damage out of this, not terminal, but still some crucial damage when they really didn't need it. They lost track position, but that's definitely not going to help their case. You see on board with Schaefer, he just sees a big run, boom, into the side of him, into the wall, hard contact. That's going to be, unfortunately for him, most likely his chances over.
So unfortunate for Eric Schaefer, who's trying to go for the win. Luckily for him, he's still got a shot to make the playoffs. He's the first driver in on points in the top 10 without a win, so with playoff eligibility. So Schaefer just needs pretty much Jesse Priest for Tyler Murray, for Michael Woolley, for all those drivers who definitely need a win in the top 20 to get into the playoffs, just for them not to. He needs somebody else to go to victory lane apart from himself, or have a driver who's won multiple races, aka Kyle Benson, Charlie Harcum, Joe Sanchez to go to victory lane, and that won't change really anything in the playoff field apart from playoff points of the drivers in the top of the standings, and that won't affect anybody from about 5th on back in the playoff grid, and they'll be able to continue their hopes and be able to fight for a title when we kick off things from the fastest half mile in a couple of weeks' time. Let's take one more look at the point standings. This is going into tonight's race, Francisco. Again, 4 drivers locked in via wins this season. Kyle Benson with 3. Same deal with Joe Sanchez. Ken MacArthur and Charlie Harcum both share 1 apiece here. MacArthur a win at Daytona. Harcum the win last week at the Rockingham Speedway. There's Schaefer, 2,003 points along with Curtis Kelly, Tony Kivett, Craig Lonslager, Brandon Banks, and Michael Newbraw are the final drivers in the top 10. So if it were to end right now, and let's say Tristan Bailey goes to victory lane, this is unchanged. This is the playoff grid for the rest of the season. Jacob Denson, he's about 67, 69 points out from 10th, so he needs a win indefinitely here to get into the playoff grid. Pretty much so does everybody in that top 20, so this may be the field that you're looking at unless Priest or any drivers in that top 10 without a win go to victory lane here tonight.
And a correction to that graphic, Kenneth, Curtis Kelly was listed as with normal points. He does have a win, so he is locked in also with a win back at Myrtle Beach.
Indeed he is, so I guess he's going to be there, but Eric Schaefer I think is the biggest one in danger here if, let's say, a guy like Jesse Priest goes to victory lane, because if he does get the win, And then the driver of that 22 who just crashed recently on the yellow, he's going to be kicked out of the playoff grid. And his chances for a title most likely could be over here as everybody will scatter through. Double file here for the restart on lap 97 with about 4 laps to go, give or take here from Daytona. It's Tristan Bailey looking for his first win. Lawson Peel also aiming for the same plan. Kyle Benson looking for win number 4 on the outside of row 2, followed by Kevin D'Elia, who has yet to reach victory lane in the Crown Royal machine. Jesse Priest, who needs a win to keep his playoff hopes alive, will sit 5th. AJ Green will be on his inside in row 3, before you find Colin Forster and Brandon Gillis. Forster, another driver that needs a win here tonight to get into the playoffs. Joe Sanchez, Curtis Kelly locked into the playoffs. They just want to run for the end. And it's everybody else just trying to survive here from the World Center of Racing. Field will come out of turn 4. And the field will be in the hands of that Wonder Bread machine, the Ricky Bobby car of Tristan Bailey, and the Budweiser machine of Lawson Peel. Your first row. Pace car makes its way down. Will this be the final restart? We'll just have to find out. Green flags in the air. Bailey, your leader, back to turn 1.
And a quick correction, Kenneth, once again, Schaefer's actually the highest in points. He is safe. Michael Newbro is the last guy in that top 10. So if somebody like the 00 of Priest is able to get up there and win this race, it's Newbro that's the odd man out.
Well, they're both actually in danger in this one. According to Tyler Murray, it said the win will knock them both out depending on who ends up in victory lane. But they're really dicey up at the front. Kyle Benson giving the huge shove to the big fast racing teammate, but they're not going to have enough. There's Stock Motorsports' AJ Green down low. Lawson Peel. There's Colin Forster. Look at his move to the inside of that third lane, or the third car in that inside lane. And now he's going to move closer as they reach for 3 laps to go.
And Gillis is behind them, so several cars that need a win are trying to find their way up in the front. The only problem is it is covered by guys who are just here to win the race and nothing more. You see AJ Green, he's the top driver that is in contention to still make the playoffs, that needs to win this race. He's the first car, or actually the second car on that inside line behind Lawson Peel with 2.5 laps to go. We have a wreck a little bit in turn 2. They're sideways, but they keep it going for the meantime, and no, they don't. The yellow's going to come out. We are going to hit overtime at Daytona, and that is going to seal the deal for Tyler Murray.
Tyler Murray's playoff hopes are indeed over here at Daytona out of turn 2. There's the damaged Bass Pro Shops machine. I'd seen multiple cars involved in that one, including Mark Harris in the 5, who went tumbling earlier tonight. There's Michael Woolley slowing down for it all, but Tyler Murray pretty much the main one involved here, the main character in this incident, with about 3 laps left, and I believe it was Cody Ivey that also helped with this incident as well. Take a look here as they're behind the main pack. You'll see that very bright yellow Menards car swift up, bam into the 8, bam into the 5. They come back up the track into the 8 machine. 42 of Bishop also gets collected. Lounslugger barely escapes after being involved in the previous caution before this one. Right on board with Murray. He sees the 81 slide up, and then everybody just goes all over the place.
You see right there, just a little bit of a drift up and then hit from behind, and that sends them around. And that was towards the tail end of the main group, so you wouldn't expect if there was going to be any incident to happen back a little bit further back there. You'd think any wreck that would happen towards the front of the field, but that's that at this point. All that we can do now is go forward, and now that we have presented ourselves here with our first overtime restart, this is how it's going to look. Lawson Peel's going to be leading the green flag with Tristan Bailey to his outside. That's going to put the big fast cars on the outside of the second row, barring the 12 picking the outside lane for the restart. AJ Green, he's going to restart 3rd. That's a really good spot for him to be in right now. He still has a chance, a legitimate chance, to still grab this win. As you see most of the back of the field hit pit road. We know AJ Green has been fast. We know he has an opportunity. The question is, how aggressive does he get to win this race?
It's a big question indeed, and he's going to have to push the envelope here. These guys really do if they want to come to victory lane. And also one thing to note, you did say Lawson Peel in the race lead. That is true because he took it away from Tristan Bailey on that restart. So fantastic job by Peel to now take control of a green-white checkered attempt here from Daytona. Multiple cars go by. They are unlapping themselves. It's waves from race control. But Peel, the rookie, who won last week at Rockingham in the Cup Series, had a first-time winner with Charlie Harcum last week in the ARCA side as well. And Lawson Peel trying to join the company of a handful that have gotten wins in both the Cup Series and the ARCA Series, because that list, it doesn't really expand too far down the order. I can recall Brian Smith. He's won races in this series. He's won races in the Cup Series. Lawson Peel is going to try to do that. Benson has yet to find a win. Forrester also yet to find a win in the ARCA Series. So there's really not many drivers really at all that have gotten a win in the Cup Series, and then also have followed suit in the ARCA Series as well. So Peel is trying to join that company here with Brian M. Smith, as he'll take the outside of row 1 on this next restart. But what you can, I guess, deduce here, Francisco, is that the moves need to be made drastically. You might want to send it 3, maybe 4 wide if you want to come away with a win here, because Colin Forster, as much as he gained on that restart there, it's not necessarily close enough just yet for the win. And same deal with Jesse Priest. Gained a little bit, but not as much as he may have hoped for. So these guys are probably just going to have to go full send mode, take it 3, take it 4, find whatever space they can get, and try and win this race.
If the car can fit there, it's going there. That's the mentality these guys are going to have on this last restart. This is the last-ditch effort. There's a good chance this won't be our last restart. We could still have another yellow in this next lap and have a go at it once again. And that's something we have to watch out for, Kenneth. We saw it at Homestead in this series. All 3 overtime attempts were used, and it resulted in the race ending under caution. So everybody has to kind of keep that in mind, keep that in the back of their head, that is still a possibility. But you have to set yourself up just in case. And if you complete that first lap, you know you're coming back around again, and your goal is to finish in front of everybody else. So that's just a crazy mindset to juggle all these things going on at once. And at a plate track like Daytona, you can't help but feel that this won't be the last restart.
Guys will also have to imagine that you kind of have to have that crazy mentality if you want to go to victory lane here from Daytona, given the position that you are in. We're ready for a restart here. This will be our first attempt at a green-white checkered. We'll run down the rules for you before we go green. We'll have 3 attempts to finish this race under green flag conditions. Race will start. Restart will happen with 2 laps to go. It'll be the leader's job to try and get back to the white flag with a clean car and with everybody clean behind him. If a caution comes out before their leader gets to the white, we'll rack them up, do it all over again. We have 3 opportunities to finish this race. If the leader gets to the white flag, they'll go back to the checkered no matter what happens. Lawson Peel hoping that this is the one and only attempt at an overtime finish here from Daytona to grab his first ever full wide racing ARCA Series win. Pace cars down, 2 laps to go from Daytona. It's Peel and Bailey, your first row.
And I mentioned it under the caution. He picked the outside. That split up those teammates behind them. And we have a crash already in the tri-oval down towards the low side of the racetrack. It doesn't look like it's coming back up the track. But look how it split the back half of the field. And the yellow is going to come out.
Yellow flag out again. We'll try once more for an attempt at a green-white checkered. And we'll try to find exactly who was involved in the incident. May look to be the 42 of Christopher Bishop. And already with our first attempt extinguished, we'll go to the second. And we'll see if we can rack them up and try it all over again. Take a replay. And you mentioned it, Francisco. They were wrecking at the tri-oval before they even got to green flag racing. Actually, I don't believe it was the 42 of Bishop here. Well, in fact, try to take a look here as everybody's just kind of going around. This is setting up for the start. Here's a look from Mark Harrison, the 5. Maybe he can tell us the story of what happened here, as everybody was mostly trying to recoup back up to the front, get things situated. And as they were going through the tri-oval, I think it's right there. Actually, 71 and the 9. Brandon Gillis, Curtis Kelly involved in this incident on the tri-oval. And that's around Jesse Priest as well. That's really dangerous.
And Gillis, unfortunately, getting involved in this one. And almost had that one saved. And of course, Priest involved in this incident as well. And Kelly seems to be trying to be the aggressor here, trying to take it 3 wide immediately, which is probably not the best thing to do, at least not that close to the restart. But nonetheless, it involves Jesse Priest and Brandon Gillis, 2 guys who are in must-win situations in order to make the playoffs. And unfortunately, their shots will probably be ended by someone who's already locked in.
That is heartbreaking on end for Jesse Priest and Brandon Gillis, because they, I mean, right there, top 10 you can see the race leader from your front windshield. You know that the win is possible. And unfortunately, it's not going to be in the cards here for Jesse Priest or Brandon Gillis to come away with a race victory here from Daytona and to solidify themselves as top 10 in the playoff standings. So with that happening, with those drivers being taken out of contention, then we just may be certain that the top 10 that you looked at to start this race in the playoff grid are going to be the drivers that are going to be fighting for a full wide racing ARCA Series title this year. When we go to Bristol Motor Speedway, the fastest half mile in a couple of weeks' time after Thanksgiving break. Those will be the drivers you'll see just running for that title. Kyle Benson, remember, he's in a title defense, so to say. He was the truck champion last season as they switched to ARCA cars this campaign. So he's going to be looking for another title, and he will lead the playoff grid going into the first race of the playoffs at Bristol. And just has to hold on here. It doesn't matter if he wrecks or if he wins. He's just going to be in the running to at least finish here from Daytona and move on to Bristol, as he's going to be in third at the time of this restart. Lawson Peel and Tristan Bailey going to be, again, the first row when we go back for our second attempt at a green-white checkered. So I guess point situation kind of thrown out the window for the most part. Not many drivers in contention to win this race that are in the top 20, apart from, I'd say, Michael Newbraw and Colin Forster. But with these two up front sort of been the strength of the field in the final laps, they're probably not going to play nice with each other here, especially if they want their first win.
Yeah, these race wins don't come easy, Kenneth. It takes a lot of things have to culminate to be able to make that happen. And at a track like Daytona, there's just stuff that is not in your control, and that makes it even harder because you try to grasp everything, you try to execute everything right, and you could do that. You could execute everything right, and it still won't work or won't be enough, just because of the unpredictable, unruly nature of the Daytona International Speedway. But the lights are out once again, so we will get our second attempt underway when we come back around to the start-finish line. And hopefully this time we'll be able to get to the start-finish line after a full completed lap and begin our white flag lap. But of course, it is Daytona, so it is probably not guaranteed that that's going to be as straightforward as I just said.
Not guaranteed at all. It's easier said than done here from the plate tracks as we'll double them up once again. Lawson Peel, your race leader once more. Tristan Bailey to command the bottom. In row one, Kyle Benson to help his big fast racing teammate, so that's a good sign for him if he wants to push his teammate to the victory. AJ Green for Stock Motorsports. He's worked well with Lawson Peel, so he's going to be in the outside of row two to assist. Colin Forster, the teammate to AJ Green. Remember, he's looking for a win to lock himself into the playoff hunt, so he'll be in row number 3. That'll be followed by the likes of Kevin D'Elia. Then it's Michael Newbraw, who also needs a win. Joe Sanchez on his outside. Mark Harris will be the final driver in the top 10. And then it's Cody Ivey, Brandon Banks, Craig Lautenslager, CJ Munir, a lot of other drivers beneath the top 15. Just looking to finish this race and hopefully escape the chaos if something big happens in the final laps here from Daytona Beach. Off turn 4. Leaders will build up the anxiety, the anticipation to go back under green once again with 2 laps to go. This is our second attempt at a green-white checker to finish this race, and it's Lawson Peel to command the train back to full song. Pace car back to pit road. 12 of Peel, the Budweiser machine, gonna rev it up, back up to the gears, and back to green with 2 laps to go. And a great restart there for Lawson Peel because he's able to switch to the inside. Not before Bailey goes, I'll go high. Fill up the gap here. AJ Green, Colin Forster to support as well. It's a couple of rows deep. 2 wide on end. Bailey and Peel dueling on a turn 2 to the back straightaway.
They're going to be side by side down the back straightaway, and look for a minute there. 3 wide through the middle. Here comes AJ Green trying to go for the lead.
And he's got help from teammate Forster. Best believe Green's going to help his teammate get into the playoffs no matter what. They come through 3 and 4. Still no convincing leader between Peel. They're wrecking behind them. That's Mark Harris around. Caution flag waves. Third attempt on the way. Lawson Peel still your leader.
And so close there to not only getting to the white flag, but between the lead, Lawson Peel's going to keep it. But AJ Green and the 99 of Forster, they were making great strides to get up to the front, but they're going to be faced with a tough challenge if we are able to get a proper restart in this last time, Kenneth, because They both have to win to get into the playoffs. So the tough part for them is who's the one that's going to do so. And I imagine it's the one with track position at the time, if it best comes down that way. But you see this move here, 3 wide. Here comes the 5 trying to make a move as well. Get through here. We see a little bit of a bobble by the 81. He comes down and taps Michael Newbraw, slides up and then comes back down. So a lot of movement up there in the middle. We see Gillis involved again. A lot of movement up there in the middle for the 5. Not exactly ideal, and that's what sent off this crash.
They'll try to pinch the middle here on Newbraw. There's Cody Ivey, who kind of moves up the track, allows the door to open, but 56 kind of comes up, creates a ping-pong effect. All of a sudden, Mark Harris is faced the wrong way to Brandon Gillis' front windshield for a moment, and he goes spinning. Craig Lauenslager also has a wild ride to the inside wall, and you'll see here as he gets caught up in the midst of it. He gets tagged by the 5, just tries to save it, overcorrects, car is too fast, and bam, into the inside wall he goes. His race most likely is done for here from Daytona, as he'll limp it down to the pit lane. Mark Harris going to do the very same thing, and that means that we're going to be on par for yet again another green-white checkered attempt. This time it will be our final, so whatever happens here, if we get a yellow to end this race before they get to the white, then Lawson Peel or whoever's out front by the time we get that yellow is your race winner. So Peel has done a nice job of controlling the field. He's put himself in the right spot for the right moments when the yellow does fly. But you got to imagine, Francisco, that he, at the end of the day, is in the catbird seat. He's at the front of the field. He can command the field all he wants. He can switch lanes all he wants as well. But then comes a charge from guys like Green, guys like Benson, guys like Forrester, guys like Sanchez. Everybody hooks up together, and Peel also has a detriment to the fact that there are teammates all across behind him as well. So they're going to also work together on this attempt here to get past Lawson Peel. And all Lawson has to do is just build up a brick wall and say, run through it. I'm going to try my best to brace for impact.
Yeah, at this point, it being the 3rd overtime restart, Kenneth, it's now or nothing. I think if you're AJ Green, Colin Forrester, this is your playoff opportunity right here. You cannot bank on this going all the way to the checkered flag. We've seen a lot of crashes on restart the last couple times, unfortunately. A lot of unforced errors, a lot of general mistakes, and you can't rely on that. You have to go there, take it now, just in case it does happen, because I think the thing that'll probably go down with the most regret is they don't make the move when they should have, and it ends up being the decision that costs them the potential playoff spot. So what you see here is actually very intriguing. Lawson Peel's going to choose the inside, actually he's going to choose the outside lane once again, like I mentioned earlier with Tristan Bailey and Kyle Benson. He's going to split up those teammates. He's going to put AJ Green on the inside while Colin Forrester stays on the outside. Benson's going to be 3rd in line with Joe Sanchez behind him. We'll see how this works out. We saw those teammates work together, but do they perform something? Do they whip something up in this next lap in order to try and shuffle out that 12 to get nose to tail?
So we're ready to get back to green flag action. Here's a question by Mike Big Sexy in the YouTube chat. He asks, what is the ultimate strategy to winning at Daytona tonight? I think the only answer I can give you with one word is survive. If you get to the end, you've got a shot. If you don't, then you don't. Good luck.
I don't think there is a strategy for Daytona. I think whatever works, works. Just you kind of have to improvise. I think improvisation skills is the best way to win at Daytona, because no matter what plan you have going into the race, it never works.
And there's nothing that can go right. There's nothing that can go wrong. There's so many things that can happen at Daytona. We've seen all of it in fruition here tonight, whether it's playoff drivers, whether it's playoff hopefuls wanting to get through to the end. So much has happened tonight. We're ready to finish it all off with one final hurrah. A restart here with 2 laps to go. Our final attempt at a green-white checkered. Again, Lawson Peel, your race leader. He's going to be joined by a different member in row 1. AJ Green to his inside. Colin Forrester and Kyle Benson, your second row. Joe Sanchez and Kevin D'Elia, your third back to P6. Before it's Tristan Bailey, Cody Ivey, Tyler Murray, and Brandon Banks, your full top 10. Pace car down to pit road. This is indeed our final restart that we can finish this race under green. Back to the racing they go. And as for Lawson Peel, he clears the first 2 rows. He's going to switch to the bottom as they come back for turn 1.
And Forster has barely any help from D'Elia behind him as Joe Sanchez is now looking there. But look at AJ Green. He's got a big run. He's going to go to the lead.
And Peel just left the door open. I think he at least presumed that Forster was going to give him some help, but he did not really in time as AJ Green now comes to the race lead. There's Kyle Benson just behind him to support. They shuffle a little bit behind them, but as for the leaders, they're just waiting to set up everything they can. Green all over the racetrack, 3 wide for the lead.
You can tell it was indecisive. He shouldn't have done that, but now he's going to get stuck in the middle.
Gonna get stuck through the middle. Benson now breaks free off turn 4. Final time to Daytona. And here's Joe Sanchez. The battle between the two playoff leaders. White flag. One more time around from the World Center of Racing. Help from AJ Green through the middle. Benson all the way to the bottom. He's gonna get shuffled. Big wiggle by Benson. Sanchez leads them. They're wrecking behind them as they come for turn 2. Oh, and the 55 around. He's gonna get turned. And it's a duel now between the 48 and the 10. What's going to happen behind them? They continue to wreck him up. Big crash from Lawson Peel. And it's 3 cars. Can you believe it? To the end of this race. In a turn 3 for the final time. Help from Cody Ivy down low. Green with a final chance. Can he make it happen? He's going to get a run here. Does he side draft? Ivy going to look to the inside. But from the leader, Cody Ivy's going to go by. And Cody Ivy wins from Daytona.
Unreal finish there, Kenneth. I have not seen anything quite like this. The amount of wrecks, the amount of lead changes on that final lap. Cody Ivy went from nearly spinning at the start of the final lap to invoking that little crash there off of turn 4, and he's going to steal the win at Daytona.
Unbelievable stuff from Cody Ivy, who we saw involved in a handful of incidents tonight, but he never gave up. He stayed in it, stayed with track position, and as he tangos with the 2 leaders, AJ Green and Kyle Benson, coming to the line, Cody Ivy is your unofficial winner here from Daytona. This will not affect the playoff grid. He is beneath the top 20, so he's not going to be fighting for a title. But to have a win for the first time in his 4-wide racing career, I think that definitely means something as he'll come across to the front straightaway. And the Menards car will burn it down. The 81 will have a victory for the first time ever. Saw Charlie Harcum with his first ever win at Rockingham last week. And it's the 2nd week in a row we have a first-time winner. It's Cody Ivy to victory lane from Daytona.
And at the start of that final lap, Kenneth, it looked like it was Joe Sanchez versus Kyle Benson once again, but we saw Sanchez get turned there by AJ Green in the middle, and it was just those 2 cars side by side. Benson had the bottom. He was able to edge out in front, but AJ Green had a second opportunity, but he made the move going up the banking that kind of slowed down his momentum. You couple that with the move that the 81 made, he kind of went below the apron. We'll see if we can get a look at this. I'm not sure what the admins will exactly say as far as the yellow line rule, but it did look like initially that he went towards the yellow line, and that's what caused the contact between him and Benson. We'll see here an exact replay of it. So there they are as this wreck happens. So we see Christian Bailey get involved in a spin there. A little bit further in the back, Joe Sanchez gets turned. Peel and Forster keep making contact. They're out of control. They get involved with the 55 of D'Elia, who loses ground. So this right here is the 3-car battle. You see the 10 of Benson trying to stay side by side with Green, who almost got clear. And the side draft worked beautifully for Benson. And actually, you see right there, Ivy really closed in the gap. And right here, AJ Green thinks he's got help, but in reality, Cody Ivy was trying to win the race for himself. You see right there, kind of slows the momentum, but as soon as Ivy makes the move, you see puts 2 tires on there, kind of like Justin Haley did. I don't think that's exactly worthy of being taken away. He didn't exactly go below it; he just went on it.
Well, unfortunately for Ivy, I think we've got news from race officials. 81 DQ for passing under yellow. Interfering with the leaders there. AJ Green will be your winner here tonight from Daytona in a controversial finish, and he is sat on the trial already celebration mode. The stock motorsports machine goes to victory lane tonight. He was 6th in the standings going into this race via points, and now Green locks himself in the final race of the regular season. So unbelievable finish there, Francisco. with Ivy getting DQ'd. It looked like a first-time win for him, but nonetheless, it still is a first-time winner here for AJ Green. And the Beef Machine burns it down from the World Center of Racing. Let's take a moment to look at the results, see exactly where everybody finished at the end of 111 laps. Again, this is unofficial, so Cody Ivy, not your race winner here tonight. Still no word on where he exactly finished after all of this, but AJ Green is your unofficial, now official actually, winner here from Daytona. Kyle Benson will come home in second. It will be Brandon Gillis to be in third. Curtis Kelly will be fourth. The top 5 will belong to the 5 machine of Mark Harris. Kevin D'Elia in 6th. 7th will belong to Christopher Bishop. 8th to Michael Woolley. 9th to Craig Lautenslager. And 10th will belong to Brandon T. Banks in the 88 machine. So everybody else behind them, again, still unofficial. We don't know where Ivy will be finished at, but I believe he will be the last car on the lead lap here, placed behind all the lead lap cars, but placed just in front of the lap down cars. So all these guys just finished one spot ahead. There's a look at Tyler Murray, who needed to win this race tonight. He ends up with the top 15. Joe Sanchez wrecked in 3 and 4. Also ends up within top 13. Colin Forster in 12th. There's a look at everybody else, multiple laps down. Jacob Denson came into this race needing to win as well, but he ends up in 21st. Or actually 20th. Charlie Harcum 21st. Benjamin A. White, heartbreaking end to a strong start from the pole. He finishes 22nd. And everybody else behind them all the way back to P33. And race control Douglas Carlson. It's actually 32nd to Josh Klinger in the 54, who is disqualified after slowing down on the track and tailing some damage with him as well near the end of this race. So as we get the results in, AJ Green continues his celebration. And what a finish it was from the World Center of Racing to cap off the final race here for the regular season of the Full Wide Racing ARCA Series campaign. I don't think any of us were expecting that whatsoever near the end of this. But nonetheless, it ends in the right way there for AJ Green as he got wrecked across the line. And he continues to celebrate. I think it'll be a good time to take a moment to talk with your winner here tonight, AJ Green in the 48 machine, who comes across the line officially from race officials as the driver to walk into victory lane. AJ, a word from the officials there. I know you're still celebrating on track, but I want to get this moment just because I think it certainly means a lot to you near the end there. You survived in the final green-white checkered restarts, got there through the end. And then comes the final lap where pretty much 3 cars are left. It's you, Benson, and Ivy. Give us your thoughts and give us your sort of reactions now that race officials have deemed you the race winner.
That last lap was, it was crazy. Everyone was everywhere. I was 3 wide in the middle, behind Joe, and everyone started wrecking. But I saw it was just 3. Cody, I thought Cody wasn't gonna get to us. But with us battling, me and Kyle, he got up to us, and well, it was gonna be a great battle to the end there. From me and Kyle who were saying that, and I mean when Cody did that, I mean I did see him go below the yellow and to advance his position. So I guess it just, I don't know what to say.
Hey.
But,
AJ, I just want to know from my side, how aggressively were you trying to keep it in front of the 10 after that wreck?
Oh, I was trying to side draft every little bit off him and try to get in front of him there, because if that was a caution, or wait, it was white flag, but I was just trying to side draft him as much as I could, and he was starting to pull at me coming out of 4, so I was trying to make one last move on his outside, and we all hit the wall.
And, of course, for the ending of this, you came into this race 6th in the point standing. So, I mean, no matter what happened tonight, you were going to be part of the playoff fight no matter what. But, I mean, to finally get this win after what seemed like a long time that you have been close to victory lane, not only in this series, but in the Cup Series as well. But you had yet to find the finish that you needed to come across the line and win the race. What does it mean to you now that you can finally have a checkered flag in tow and have some extra momentum for the first playoff race in Bristol in 2 weeks?
Oh, it means a lot having the first win in this league, and having that momentum going into Bristol is amazing. And on that break, I'll probably put a few laps into Bristol. I haven't put a lot in there, but knowing that I got a dub feels really good.
can imagine it does feel good here, especially from the World Center of Racing out of all places, just how crazy this was. But before we let you go, AJ, on this official win now from Daytona, who do you got to thank for making all of this possible? Any teams, any sponsors? Who are the people that make it happen for you week in and week out, and especially tonight for this victory?
Well, I got to say thanks to my teammates. They, especially Colin there at the end on the second green-white. He was pushing me through the middle there, and that's probably what got me to second right there. And that's what got me probably had a chance to win this race. So I got to say thanks to my teammates and everyone in the chat and Stonk Motorsports. And shout out to you guys for broadcasting and Tyler making the league and everything.
Well, we certainly appreciate the time, AJ. I want to congratulate you on this victory here from the virtual Daytona International Speedway. And now what we can do is wish you the best of luck now. Playoff eligible here tonight as you run for a 4-wide racing ARCA title this year. We wish you the best of luck when we visit the fastest half mile in Bristol in a couple weeks, and also a happy Thanksgiving as well.
Thank you. Happy Thanksgiving.
AJ Green to victory here officially from the virtual Daytona International Speedway. I want to correct myself there. He was not 6th. That's in the Cup Series. So he's going to be a playoff hopeful in both. Now he's locked into the ARCA Series. He's going to be fighting for the playoffs still in the top 10 in the Cup Series tomorrow night. So he was 17th, by the way, top 20 still. So he was eligible in points, just not in the top 10, like I mentioned. Nonetheless, he is still a winner, but we'll move over to P2, and the driver who comes home in second, that's the 10 machine of Kyle Benson, who, mind you, finished in the top 5 at Rockingham last week. Was very close to the win. Very close to the win here tonight as well from the World Center of Racing. Kyle, I want to bring you into the booth, and whoa, I don't think anyone really has words for this finish. I don't think you have either from behind the wheel. Can you give us some thoughts? Can you give us some words? What was going through your mind there in the final laps?
Could you imagine 3-1 at the line at Daytona? That would have been awesome. But, man, it was a good finish. It stuck to the end, but, he's going for his first win. So, I mean, I understand that. But, I mean, the rules are rules. So, but honestly, it was going to be a really good finish anyway. I saw everybody right behind us, and I saw just me and AJ, and I know he's fighting for a playoff spot. So, I tried to keep it as clean as I could and tried to keep it in front of him going 4 for 5, which would have been nice. But, I'll take a second place and, starting from with an EOL at the beginning of the race. So, other than that, I had a great time. I'm speechless still.
I don't think we have words either for watching that finish, especially given the fact that you and AJ Green right there contact. Cody Ivey was there as well. You guys are trying to go pretty much tooth and nail all the way to the finish. But for you, I think you were in sort of a very interesting position because, like I'd say Joe Sanchez, like Ken MacArthur, like Curtis Kelly, like a couple of other drivers, you have already been locked into in the playoffs for a while. You're not running for your playoff life. You're not fighting for a chance for the title because you're already going to be part of the group via the wins you've already picked up this season. So from your perspective, how interesting was it as a driver here to just kind of go for the win while also watching the storylines around you from drivers that practically needed to get to victory lane in order to join you guys in the top 10?
It was very weird because, part of you is like, man, I want to go up front and lead this thing. The other part is like, man, I probably should stay back and not cause any problems. So, it was kind of like got one person on one side, one person on the other. So you're trying to help yourself, but also trying to make sure you're not wrecking everybody else has a chance of winning too. But, getting the final win at Daytona for this season, at least for the regular season, it's a big momentum boost. You're going with a lot of points. You're going for a lot of stuff. So it's kind of a grace, you know what I mean? So definitely, you're trying to go for the win, but you're also trying to figure out who's the guys around you and if you want to help them or not.
Well, you end up getting close to the finish, and you end up officially second at the start-finish line with the DQ for the race leader, just behind AJ Green. Kyle, before we let you go for what's going to be the start of a playoff fight in 2 weeks' time at Bristol, is there anybody you just want to thank, any teams, sponsors, or just anybody you just want to thank for making this all possible?
I'd like to thank Team Row Designs for making this absolutely beautiful Kevin LePage scheme. It's a beauty. Everybody comes to 4-wide racing series every week. Good win for AJ, man. He deserves it. You guys at the broadcast is absolutely phenomenal. I'm really kind of tempted to look back on that finish. So I kind of want to get the old the Fox popcorn out and start watching it. But other than that, man, I had a great night. That's pretty much about it.
If I'll give you a preview of the end of that broadcast, you're going to hear a lot of decibels, and your ears are probably not going to last the last part of through it. I'm just going to tell you that much. But Nonetheless, Kyle, want to congratulate you on this second place finish here from Daytona. And of course, we wish you the best of luck now moving forward. It's going to be an attempt to defend your title from the Truck Series last campaign, this time with the ARCA cars at the fastest half mile in 2 weeks' time. Thank you for joining us. Thank you for your support. And of course, want to wish you a happy Thanksgiving for you and your family as well, as we'll take the break next week.
I appreciate it, man.
Kyle Benson, second at the start-finish line officially from Daytona. I don't believe we have Brandon Gillis in any of the voice chats, so I don't believe we're going to be able to talk to him, unfortunately, although I believe that's his best finish in this series in a long time, if not his best ever in the full wide racing competition as a whole from the virtual Daytona International Speedway. But we'll step back up to the booth, Francisco. It's hard to digest that one. I feel like that was a very well-cooked steak, because it's hard to bring it down to really fully absorb what's going on there, or what really happened there at the finale in those final laps on that green, white, checkered attempt. Saw Lawson Peel in control for a while. Near the end, looked like he was the favorite to hold on to it. Turns out he wasn't able to. Got shuffled out multiple times. Multiple drivers get involved in crashes, playoff hopefuls, playoff, I guess, outliers, drivers who are locked in. So many people involved, and we got to finish for the ages to cap off the regular season. I only wonder what the playoffs are going to bring in 2 weeks' time.
I think we need to look at that finish just one more time from the perspective of AJ Green, just to truly capture what he saw. We saw, of course, he was really in an intense battle there with Kyle Benson, and we saw Cody Ivey make the move he did. But obviously, he was just keeping the gas mashed as he was making that contact with Benson, just trying to make sure, hey, that's a possibility of going down. If I beat this guy, that's the spot for me. So he was obviously still digging. Because you know what they say, even after the checkered, or after you think it's over, you got to keep it going. So you see right here on the back straightaway, kind of reviewing this again, we saw Benson get a huge run here, and Ivy, of course, just kind of sitting behind both of them. But right here, we're on board with AJ Green right now. He slots in, as we saw, gets one last run here, tries to go to the outside. It has a little bit of forward momentum, but as soon as Ivy makes the move, it turns the 10 into Green, and you see right here, Green's just still on the throttle. He's not lifting, and that right there is what got him in the playoffs.
Just one jagged move right there with Kyle Benson as Cody Ivey crossed the line, and I can imagine that Green at one point thought, all right, that's P2, that was an attempt, but as soon as he got word from the officials that he had won the race, you can imagine just how much the emotions were going over that 48 machine, and especially around the Stonk Motorsports team, knowing that they're going to have multiple cars into the playoffs, and AJ Green is going to join, is going to be in there as well, and he's going to be a contender most likely by the time we get to Bristol in a couple of weeks' time. But if you liked everything that's happened here from Daytona from the ARCA series, then you're going to love what's going to happen tomorrow night. Cup Series from Daytona. We're going to decide who the top 10 will be for the playoffs. Remember, a lot of drivers near that cut line, and unlike tonight, there are drivers that are only within a few points, a small margin of that playoff hunt. Kyle Benson being one of them, just a handful of points out, and it's just a huge bubble there that we'll be talking a lot about tomorrow night. That'll be Wednesday, November 17th, of course, tomorrow, but it will be on the Max Speed TV YouTube channel instead of the KBueno Racing Network YouTube channel. So hop on over to the Max Speed TV channel to watch some Cup Series action tomorrow night. We will return, though, in 2 weeks' time when we hit the virtual Bristol Motor Speedway after Thanksgiving break, and that will be our first trip for the playoffs and our first race in our journey to decide who's going to be a champion. That'll be November 30th at 9:10 p.m. Eastern, and you'll find it right here, same time, same place, KBueno Racing Network YouTube channel. Cup Series will also follow suit the next day after the Thanksgiving break. They'll start December 1st. That'll be 9:10 p.m. Eastern on the Max Speed TV YouTube channel, so don't miss a thing of what's going to happen here in the 4-Wide League, because trust me, it is only going to continue to get tighter, and the competition is only going to continue to keep us on our toes. Well, that concludes our broadcast of the round 17 of the 4-Wide Racing ARCA Series from Daytona. What a race it was all the way to the finish. Cody Ivey, unofficial winner. AJ Green, your official winner, and that will lock him directly into the round of 10 in 2 weeks' time. Want to thank Tyler Murray, league owner, for all of the people at 4-Wide Racing League for making all of this possible, and the Race Counter for helping all the way through. And on behalf of all of us at the KBueno Racing Network, for Charlie Bayer and my colleague in the booth, Francisco Bacalhau, my name is Kenneth Bueno. Saying so long, good night from the sunny beaches of Daytona. We'll be back here tomorrow night for some Cup action. But until then, on the KBueno Racing Network, catch us November 30th, and happy Thanksgiving.